Hi everybody. Before we get into the video, I just wanted to let you know about the first hour and 9 minutes. You will hear a lot of the tech side of Theta 3.0, where that's going, Dee's views on where Theta's headed technically, and the tech side of GPool. Really, after an hour and 9 minutes, you'll hear more about Theta token itself and Theta TFUEL and where that might be going in the golden ratio. So if you're interested in more of what Crypto Jay talks about at the Bitcoin Academy, Jay goes over the technical analysis of a coin and where it potentially could be heading. So if you're interested in that, you can jump forward to about an hour, 8, 9, 10 minutes, and you can hear more about the where Theta TFUEL and where Theta might be going as far as the price. If you're looking for some more tech, you can listen before that, but I think you'll find this a great interview. Thanks a lot.
Good morning, winners. Happy Thursday to you. 2021 is your year. 2021 is our year too, George. Are you there?
I am. Good morning, Jay. How are you?
I'm doing lovely, my brother. I'm doing so good. Guys, we got a packed house today. We also have a very special guest coming with special information. And so we're not going to take a long time introducing Dee or getting into things. I do have a couple quick announcements while George kind of sets things up with Dee in the background. The first thing I want to tell you guys is this. If you're new here, this may be the first time you've heard this. If you've been here for 3 years, you've been hearing this for a long time. So I don't want any belly aching from any new people. This is something George and I have had planned for quite some time. We are transitioning probably in April, maybe not till May, but probably in April, to our own Patreon channel that George has built. You guys have seen it in the past. He might put it on the board, I don't know. But you guys have already seen it. We're going to be transitioning there very soon. We are going to also transition with all paid members. We're going to transition there for testing, where we will post everything in Patreon and post everything on the new site, or maybe almost everything, maybe not everything. So that's going to be coming. And what I want to remind you of is I have waited to do this, and I've waited almost a year now to do this when I really wanted to be off on my own platform long before now. But I've waited for you guys, because in our new platform, we will not accept dollars. You'll need to pay by the quarter, you'll need to pay by the 6 month, or by the year, whichever you decide. We have a whole ton of people that want to pay by the year, and so that's why we've opened that up. I wasn't originally going to do that because I told George I didn't know if I wanted to commit for a whole year, but I am going to commit for a whole year for those that want to do that. And you can also do quarterly, and you can do 6 months. There will be 3 different price points based on that. We do have to pay somebody. We already have that somebody in training now. We have to pay somebody to handle all the manual payments. But I just want, by way of announcement, to let you know this is coming. It is coming. So when that time comes and we transition, it will be crypto only going forward. And you guys also, for those of you that are new, when I started this Patreon, it was by the request of over 100 people that were emailing going, hey man, you got to do a room, you got to do something, you can't just disappear. And it's morphed into something way bigger than that today. And at the same time, during the last 3.5 years, we all got pretty close during the bear market. We held it together. Nobody sold off all their cryptos. And today we have many multimillionaires, including the 2 that run this live stream. And so it's getting really good again. And I told you guys in the bear market that the moment we went into the bull market, we would reach a point pretty quickly where almost every bad memory you had of the bear market would just dissipate. And I'm seeing that now from people. People are like, what bear market? What are you talking about? And so that's exciting to see. That's how it should be. But you should have a transition of your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions when you see the market do what the market's doing. So anyway, do know we are transitioning. Another transition you may not be aware of if you're new. I know it doesn't feel like this right now, but when I started this, I was 5 days a week. I posted Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The second year, I went down to 4 days. The third year, I went down to 3 days. That's the year we're in now, which ends in July. Now, in a bull market, I got a lot to say. So sometimes I post 3 times in a day. But for next year, just know if you're paying for that up front, I am going to be committed to 2 days a week. By the way, what comes next is me disappearing. And there's a newsletter, and maybe, you know, we'll get there when we get there. But the point is that I told everybody I would stay with you through the end of the bull market. I really think the bull market lasts until the end of 2022. By the time we're done, I will have said every word in my head that I know about trading, investing, the psychology, and probably a bunch of new stuff that I've learned along the way. So the information will be there. I will still be doing a newsletter. I will still be probably doing a live stream or 2 a month with George. Yep. But the everyday teaching will be gone. And we will be on our own platforms. We will not be reliant on YouTube. We will not be reliant on Patreon or Twitter or anything else. We have kept this fairly small on purpose. I told you guys I really only wanted to be able to help a maximum of about 2,000 to 3,000 people. We are on our way to that number now. And obviously I knew that would come as soon as the bull market cranked up. All of a sudden we started seeing 40, 50 people a day show up. And so, you know, obviously just like now, everybody wants to buy Bitcoin now that it's already gone up to $59,000. Now we want to buy Bitcoin. We couldn't get them to even look at Bitcoin when Bitcoin was 4,000. They'll step on your face to save $100 on an Xbox at Best Buy on Black Friday, but to get them to try and buy Bitcoin on sale, forget it. It's not happening. So now that Bitcoin's gone to 60,000, everybody wants in. It's called human nature. It's called human nature. So anyway, that's just a couple of announcements that I had. George, did I leave anything out there?
Well, you know, maybe we'll move our platform to Theta, but that's off in the future. I just wanted to throw that in.
I like it. I like it. Is Dee ready?
And I think we have Dee. Are you here? Can
yeah, can you hear me?
I can. Welcome.
Thank you.
Dee, thank you so much for coming back. I just wanted to throw that in before you and George get going. I'm going to step out of the way here because this is George's expertise, not mine, and I'm so glad he's my partner. But thank you again so much for not only serving the entire Theta community, but also coming here and talking with our group privately like this. It means a lot to us.
Yeah, it really does, Dee. I appreciate you doing this because I know in the beginning you were like, yeah, I don't know if I want to really come on and and talk about these things because I don't want people to know who I am, and that's the way we'll keep it. But you know, with 3.0, with Theta 3.0 coming out, and I guess there's a countdown clock. I should have got that up too.
And George, tell everybody here who Dee is, by the way, just because there's a lot of people that weren't here the first time. Tell everybody who he is. That's true.
You know, I will let Dee share what he wants to share, but Dee and I were, GPool. Dee and I were introduced to each other when I was doing the beta of the of Theta, of TFUEL, that type of thing, the Guardian Node beta program, and that's where we initially met, and then we, you know, became friends because we were talking to each other. And then I was going to set up my own Guardian node, and Dee was like, hey, you know, well, I'm kind of setting up one too. I'm like, oh, I'd love to know more information. And then he shared what GPool was all about, and I was like, I'm done. I'm not setting mine up. I'm not going to worry about it. They have multiple servers around the world. I know how much time it takes to keep things going. I know that I wasn't up 100%. So why should I do it? Because I can join GPool. I can join their Patreon group and pay, a little bit every month and not have to worry about it, especially when your internet connection goes down, you go on vacation, or you move out of state and it goes off for a week and you can't figure out why it's gone down. So that's why I really love GPool. And I think Dee is going to have some good news to share about GPool too. So Dee, if you want to just come on and tell a little bit about yourself, that would be great.
Sure. First, yeah, thank you guys so much for giving me this forum for this question and answer ability here. It's really great for the community to be able to have a recorded question and answer. I feel like not just on GPool, but some of these heavier topics with Theta, and my understanding of them. Some of them are yet to. There you go with the clock with Theta 3.0's mainnet launching here. So yeah, with GPool, we wanted to make sure that the community as a whole had access to staking and helping participate in the network. And that's really where the inspiration from GPool came, knowing that there was going to be some people that don't have a computer, maybe even they're not complete computer savvy, but they're really just enthralled with potentially where Theta goes, and a large host of different situations that we've seen migrate over to us. And it's really great to get everyone's emails. And I know that we're going to start growing here, and it's, I'll probably have some staff to answer these emails. So it's just really great that I still have the hands-on to hear each individual email as they come in. Well, that could get somewhat overwhelming at times.
Yep.
It's still great to hear, all of the, individual case by cases, because I hope I just never lose that when it's more just some numbers on the screen. And, I don't know that I will ever lose that. I'm still here in crypto, working, harder, I guess mentally than I ever have,
How long have you been in crypto, Dee? And as far as that goes, have you pretty much always been in the development side, so you're a developer?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the first couple of months it was more exploratory, really grasping what it was. I got in around 2012, and to be honest with you, I still think it's funny when I look back and think about like the things I was Googling to try to figure out what the heck this was all really trying to say. It took a good at least week and a half for me to fully digest everything. But I'll never forget it, I guess the pain in an example of what YouTube for crypto looked like back then. It was, the demo video of mining and, Bitcoin and such. And I finally found a video of a gentleman explaining what mining was. It was still like not even a general basic knowledge of what mining was on the internet, and that's where it's like you start thinking how far it's come, where, some of these terms are now becoming base knowledge. And I think that's like a big thing that I try to explain to some of these individuals that come to me in email too is, it's really, this is the first time, and I don't know if I had said this in the first interview, but this is the first time that we're seeing like average people that want to know really technical answers about a new technology that we're all building. And it's really thrilling to see. I don't know that there's ever, even with the internet, I don't think a lot of the average people really grasped what it was going to even turn into. And now that we've got that as an example, there's a lot of people really curious about some of these technical heavy questions. And, you know,
Yeah.
I hope that they don't get discouraged, you know, because
Yeah.
I know how big this space is, and I know how fast it's growing. And I know sometimes it could probably feel like you're so far behind, you know, you're just, you know, it could probably be overwhelming for some people, but because
Yeah.
it's overwhelming for me at this point, to keep up
Yeah.
with
I was
everything, to
gonna
be
say.
honest.
Yeah, I was gonna say, D, like I feel overwhelmed and I do this all the time. And so, you know, with new people coming in, they you will feel overwhelmed and it's okay because, you know, everybody does until you kind of get a grasp of what's going on. I mean, that was back in the day when mining was done with the CPU, correct?
Yeah, not quite as plentiful, but yeah, it was starting to transition, but yeah. um
It was
yeah,
way back.
that was some wild days. I'll be honest with you. The you know Looking at your phone and seeing some big monumental thing that happened in crypto back then, and then looking up at people as they walked by going, holy smokes, these people, they didn't even know that that just happened. Like, oh my God, this is huge. Like, you know, and then now we're getting into that where people are starting to peek into that window, you know, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, it is. And it's exciting to have people come into the space because it's interesting. The first interview we did, and I'll link it where this is posted. They have seen it on YouTube because we decided to post it there. And I'll get emails like, hey, I need a little bit of help. Do you know about this and about that? And these are people that really don't know that much, but you know that they really want to, and they're eager to learn about it. And it's really exciting to see that because it's, you know, the other side of it where people are like, I don't care about it. That's most of my neighbors around me. They think I'm crazy. Like, what is this, you know, crypto stuff? But they're coming around because they're seeing that it's being talked about in mainstream now as compared to just being, you know, a crazy person. So
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
we all know that.
I laugh because I've got a strong following around me, obviously, friends, family, and so forth. And then every once in a while, you know, parent's friend or some have you, you know, that'll come around and uh, give me a bit of, like, concern or pause, or what their concerns or pause, should I say, are. And
Yeah.
I think it was 2000, maybe 18. One of my mother's card ladies, stopped over for something, and she was saying that she had heard the news that to stay away, and I can't remember what the dynamics were, but I'll be honest with you, I started laughing, and it was in a rude way, and I didn't even realize, you know what I'm saying, like I didn't even
Yeah.
realize until I came to grips, because it was like, it was a very funny statement to me, and not for anything, and then I had to explain myself for laughing, and this is where it actually turns pretty funny, if you ask me, because I said, well, sort of have to explain to you. That's sort of like, to me, you saying the words, the Super Bowl won't happen this year. And now in retrospect, I see, with all of everything that's gone on, I was like, holy smokes, the Super Bowl might not have happened this year, and crypto actually was taking off. I had to reflect back on that moment, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is my moment where crypto actually becomes more provable than the Super Bowl. Like, anyway, so yeah, I thought that was funny this year when I was looking at the Super Bowl, going, oh my gosh, it almost didn't happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so. But yeah, so I guess that's just to sort of piggyback on you guys' your opener. It is great to mentally prepare for longer term. I think we're all here understanding now that this is here. It's a force. It will be here for many, many millennia to come, in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, with quantum computing, that's going to change a little bit, but it'll be here. And I think that that's one of the more powerful things to think about, is some of those 10, 15-year strategies and where we're going there. Now, mind you, sometimes when I talk in that fashion, I want to make sure that people understand that it is really just hypothesis. You know, it's trying to predict, trying to predict TikTok back in 1990. Like that goes back to the base, and building the bases. There's so many bases still to be built for a lot of this stuff to exist, and terminology that we don't even have yet in our dialogue. So with that being said, the vision and the direction and the momentum is still all going to be there. So it's easier to try and connect some of the dots backwards from there. So with that being said, though, when I look at Theta, and I mean, you can do this with most of the, you know, coins that will be there. I think about it, and to me, I really see it as, and you know, the word might be, you know, maybe over dramatic, but the freedom of speech coin, basically. And I hate to try to just narrow it down into that group, because it's actually going to be even bigger than that. If you could imagine that something's bigger than the freedom of speech when it comes to, you know, something protocol, but you know, when you start talking about you know, 3.0 coming and the staking of Guardian nodes, and we'll get to all of that, it's really easy to start connecting dots that this cancel culture and, you know, a lot of censoring and so on and so forth won't be really in our verbiage, hopefully soon enough.
Yeah, because it's very evident today. It's not being hidden, and that is one reason why we're moving off Patreon, because we've had others kind of similar in our space that if they don't like what you have to say, or if they don't like your views, or if they don't like that you're in crypto, they'll close you down. Because you probably have examples, you know, 2 years ago, where if you were in crypto, you were looked at as a terrorist, or you were dealing drugs, because, you know, Bitcoin is all about, you know, the Silk Road, which I think the movie is coming out. I think I saw something posted about Silk Road, and it's anything but. And so, yeah, so that's where we're headed. And let's talk a little bit about Theta Mainnet 3.0, if you can kind of share that, and then we'll go back to a little bit of your site.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you know, I guess probably where we should start before we get into all of that real quick is that I don't know if a lot of people had seen the article that was just published last night about the rewards and them changing a little bit here in 6 days.
No, I have not. Was that on Medium? Yeah, if you want to send me that.
Oh, yeah, you'd like the link? Okay, sure. Here we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds like we're going to get more money. This is great.
Ultimately, yes. This part of what I was going to explain is just sort of how the schedule is going to change a bit here. So, how it's been working is every 10 minutes, everybody that stakes gets a small sliver of a reward. And with all of the stakers, GPool, Guardian nodes, and validators that they've been turning on, that reward block has gotten really heavy. Really heavy, because every 10 minutes there's thousands of people getting paid, and it's great. And they want to 10x that. So to do that, they need to make sure that that block that's heavy isn't a sort of a sticking point, to say. So what they've done is they've randomized who gets a reward every reward block. So every 10 minutes, well, it's every 100 blocks, so it could be about 12 minutes. That's the one thing maybe to is also explain that blocks aren't they're as much as that we want them to be like a set clock, and maybe one day, who knows, they will be like, you know, you'd be able to boil an egg to them. It's a guesstimate of when it will happen. You know, theta's, you know, 5 to 7 seconds, you know, averaging about 6. Sometimes it can get to 9 seconds. And really it just has to do when the validator nodes reach consensus on that next block. So I won't get it too deep in the weeds, but just know that block times can vary, and that's completely fine. Every 100 blocks, or about, let's say, every 12 minutes, there was everybody on the blockchain that was staking, getting rewards. Now it'll be, as they state, 200 to 300 stakers randomly, and it's weighted. Meaning when something's weighted, it means that it takes into consideration how much you have staked. So what they decided to do was weight this, meaning if you contribute more stake to the network, you won't have to wait quite as many random blocks to get a reward. Not saying that they feel like you're going to shut your computer off right away or what have you. It's just they have the math and the ability to sort the randomness, as crazy as sorting randomness means or sounds, but they have the ability to do such. So they did it in an organized fashion, which I think is really great. There could be arguments placed on both sides, but needless to say, as they state, you're looking like if you have over 100,000 theta staked, you get rewards, you know, about every 2 to 3 hours. So that does not mean that you're going to lose any rewards. What that means is you're going to get bigger rewards less frequently. So instead of small little rewards more frequently, you're going to get bigger rewards less frequently. So you might get paid maybe twice a day, but it's going to equal the same amount that you were getting paid. Now, if it is going to be once every day or once every other day, then it's probably best that we zoom out and look at your weekly, you know. So if everyone wants to look at their weeklies, you know, and start getting ready for that, it's about 6 days from now. I don't know that a lot of people are gonna notice the difference. They might, you know, they might notice a difference if they're really religious about staring at GPool's number, because that's really where, you know, you probably see it the most. But just know that, you know, nothing happened if you don't get a rewards for, you know, X amount. It's going to be that's going to be interesting to explain in email form too. We're trying to get a response ready for that, because there's sort of a mystery in the air when you go to send it out of, you know, before I could show everybody every 10 minutes, look, you're getting rewards. But if somebody says they're new and they're not getting rewards yet, we're figuring that out. We're figuring that out.
That's disconcerting. Now the question is, you know, when you would get rewards before, and you may not know the answer, it doesn't really show up in your wallet. And there's a couple of things that are kind of clunky that I find with Theta. And every time, you know, I have a platform, I'd like to voice my opinion on the changes that I'd like to see. And one of them is, you know, that you don't see it in your wallet. And so if people aren't looking for that little change, they look in their wallet and like, I'm not getting anything. And you just, you know, told me to stake this. Number one, I didn't tell you, I showed you a video. And so it doesn't fall in there. It would be great to see it in the wallet now if it's going to be less frequent. Do you know if that's going to happen?
That's a request that we put out quite some time ago. And not saying that they've said no or anything. It's just with apps and, you know, the approval process and so on and so forth, they want to make sure that all the wallets look the same and have the functionality. So the web wallet, while it is a little easier for them to add a toggle switch, is basically all we need. I'm not saying I'd love it to default to showing rewards and then you being able to shut it off. But from what we've seen on the blockchain, when they added that toggle switch to show, you could filter out basically the reward transactions, because it did show by default on the web browser, or I'm sorry, on the block explorer. So I think that what we're going to see is we're going to see the default view still stick with not showing rewards, and then it might toggle, you might be able to unfilter that or to stop the filter and see them. Now,
Yeah.
the thing is with them being less, I'd like that maybe to be the default view. Before you were getting close to 144 of them a day, and a transaction could get lost and cluttered really very quite easily.
Yeah.
But now you might be only getting a few a day. So, I'd like to see maybe if that is the default view, but we'll see. Needless to say, it's going to be great to be able to see those in the wallet, because it is reassuring when you see a transaction viewable. And it is very cumbersome for new people to be able to go to the block explorer. And we're all hearing that, and we know that, and Theta knows that as well, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that you guys know that. They're very quite good in the back channels. So yeah, that should be something that there's
Totally.
little still little things that I see too, and
Yeah.
that to me makes me feel good, because I know how early I am. If there's still these little things, right? If you get
Yeah.
onto something and it's already polished up and everything like that. I mean, not saying that there can't be things like that, but I'm just saying this is a huge undertaking, and
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of things to build out, and it's just great to see that we're still here when we don't even have the sort feature in the wallet yet, so.
Exactly. Well, and one thing that I think it's interesting when I talk to people and they're looking at that and they're saying, it comes in as Coinbase, the
Oh
little
yeah,
tag
yeah,
next to it, and
sure.
people are like, that's coming from Coinbase. I'm like, oh, okay, let's back up and look at history. Coinbase was
Yeah,
like a core component, and then Coinbase, the company, took that term or that word and created a company around that. So it's like the Coinbase that's in that wallet was before Coinbase, the company. So just people know that it's not coming from Coinbase, the company. It's coming from just the core wallet technology.
well, one of those things where you can see where they could confuse that very easily, where someone could confuse that very easily.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, and one other thing that I
sure.
would love to see them change, because so many people have this question, because it's kind of across the board on some of the blockchains, is that because I'm a ledger guy, and you've
Hmm.
thrown one or two people my way, like, hey, could you help this guy because he's kind of confused on ledger, is that when you tell someone to to store it on your ledger, and they say, well, okay, I'm going to go to Ledger Live and I'm going to download the Theta app, and then I have to say, well, actually, this goes against everything that I say. But you can't have the Ledger app because, number one, there's not one, but you use the Ethereum app to store your coins using a ledger on the wallet. And their issue is, well, then it's an ERC20. And I'm like, well, actually, it's not, even though, so that the
Hmm.
confusion is pretty great. And I think I heard you drop another.
Yeah. Why don't we pull that up, and then
Okay.
that'll, because that's the roadmap, and on it, it actually is the solution that I think that you're driving towards. Scroll down just a little bit more. There you go, into quarter two. There you go. So there we
Okay.
go.
Yep. Oh, good, 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 good. Yeah.
So with that, and then as you can see up, there's going to be that one-click delegation that's in the first grouping. That is actually going to be, so the third one down in there you go, quarter one. So that's going to be nice too, and very helpful. I'm appreciative to the team to do that. Basically, it's going to sort of help take all these guides and steps out of the equation for us,
Yeah.
which is going to be great. The community, I think, is going to really benefit from this. And I hope that at some point there's a huge list of pools. To be honest, it really excites me, and a lot of the things that I lobby for, or that I think of how it could happen, and trying to forge that path forward, is with the mindset of how is this going to help benefit larger numbers of pools. Because I've been here a long time, and GPool is amazing, and it's great to see everything. And I've seen how good it can be when there's a good scattering, a good helpful amount of services out there, for everyone.
And just not centralize, decentralize it, and have
absolutely.
lots across.
I guess that's a good thing to really quickly touch on, because we use the word centralized too, because with pooling, it can get a little, it can look a little top heavy when you look at GPool and how much we have staked to us too.
Yeah.
And I think that, a real quick, overview, maybe even for some people that have been in Theta for a while, but don't even actually know what, the validator and guardians, because, it's really quick to explain. So the validators, they sit there and they make the blocks and they produce the blocks, and they do it really, really fast because there's only a few of them and they can all talk together. Well, that's sort of, a federated system. And what Theta said was, that's great for efficiency and that's great for throughput, how many transactions you can get, in a second. But it's semi-centralized for the validators. So they created this whole second layer of us guardians, and basically how it ended up actually coming together is that validator nodes submit the blocks and they validate the blocks, and then the guardian nodes come in and we co-sign what they have done. So we're like a checks and balances to make sure that the validators are indeed producing valid blocks. I won't get into all what the invalid blocks could look like, but needless to say, what a guardian gets is we get a vote, right? We vote yes or no. That was a good transaction, that wasn't a good transaction. And on the blockchain, you can see the votes and so on and so forth. And soon, I would expect, once exchanges and so on and so forth, that people, taking payments, wallets start understanding, you might even be able to see, how many, how this has been co-signed and the guardians interactions and so forth, because a lot of people right now, we can just stare and see the blocks are just coming at us. And soon there will be a lot more detailed information about what's in those blocks and so on. But anyhow, I just wanted to explain that each guardian gets a vote, no matter how much stake they have and no matter how much weight they have. We get a vote, and our vote is just the same as another vote, basically. So we can have a large amount of people staking with us and we still get our vote. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood that the second layer is what's so unique about Theta, and why it really does help it helps decentralize things so much so that pools aren't really centralizing anything.
Okay. Well, and this may be like we're talking really maybe over the majority of people's heads on this. So
for sure.
Yeah, we'll kind of come back now. What with 3.0 being released? Let's see, I lost my what do you think, like if we were in the Empire State Building and we could go from the top to the bottom in that time period, what do you think people need to know about Theta 3.0 mainnet release?
All right, I think there's a image that I had sent you.
Yep, I have those and I can pull them over.
Okay, yeah. Let's probably take a look at the one that's more of like a diagram versus the cluster first.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, cool. The first one. Okay.
There you go.
This one.
All right. Yes. So, here's the premise, okay, of 3.0. So we had streaming. We have a model where streaming revenue gets paid and relayed, and I don't want to go too deep into all of that base knowledge that a lot of people will already have. What we ended up with was the edge network is sitting there and it's waiting to relay huge amounts of streams and peer-to-peer data, game patches, software updates, a whole slew of things, and it's ready to go. It's sitting there waiting. Now, the thing about that is there wasn't really that incentive yet to run them. While there's people like, me and some enthusiasts about technology and such that will throw good, heavy resources that are somewhat costly at the edge network just because that's our hobby, and we use our hobby money to help the network. As silly as it sounds, some of us, that is our hobby, and that's what we use our hobby budget for. So as great as that is, what ended up happening is that we're sitting there saying, okay, it's sort of a catch-22. Build it, so that they can test it and they can come and help, and start streaming on it. Bigger streaming platforms, the YouTubes and so on. But at the same time, how are they able to test it if there's not a bunch of us sitting there just waiting and testing and so on and so forth, So what Theta, came up with, and I'm not saying that this was done purely for that. I'm just using it as an example. I have no knowledge of who's testing and what they're waiting and how far along their testing is. They could be ready to launch tomorrow for all I know. I guess I'm using it more as an example. So
Okay.
we had edge nodes that needed to get paid so that it incentivized resource, bigger resources on the network and people to get paid for their bandwidth that it was using to even test. So what they ended up doing was doing a base salary in 3.0. So basically what you now have is you have all of the edge nodes that are going to be getting a base salary no matter what, with the caveat that you do have to stake TFUEL to get that base salary. When
Can you stake
do,
any amount of TFUEL, or is it the maximum amount of TFUEL?
right now, there's a minimum of 10,000. I hope that gets lowered. I really have to see what the threat matrix or the attack vector would be of having the 10,000 minimum. I'm not, I guess, fully seeing why we have the minimum, but the maximum I can see. So the maximum, will be 500,000 is what they're look to be testing and potentially launching with. So right now, the parameters that we're seeing in the code, and I'm assuming once we get this test net here, we'll be able to test a few more things. What we're seeing is a minimum of 10,000, a maximum of 500,000, and then an inflation reward rate of 4%. So Theta gets 5% inflation rate, and TFUEL gets 4%. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But anyways, I guess I wanted to just make sure that people knew that 4% is still a potential. And the minimum is still a potential, I hope. And the maximum, I think, is probably pretty good there. And the maximum, just what that means is we don't want just one big node sitting there. We want to make sure that big node, even GPool, has many servers and many different hardware running this robust network that is what Theta needs, and thrives for. So what we have here is we have the edge nodes. Once you stake an edge node, it becomes an elite edge node, and you'll see there the elite edge node. So the inflation of 2 to 4 right next to it. The 2, 2 to 4, like I said, it's still a little experimental, and 4 looks good. With that being said, now what you'll do is you'll stake your TFUEL. It upgrades to an elite edge node, and it gets a base salary. So basically, you'll be able to stake your Theta and stake your TFUEL. GPool, obviously, we have our helping hand in all of that as well. But that's the basic premise. Now, if they do lower that 10,000, which would be great if they are able to, JE's got his head way more into the, you know, the attack vectors and so on and so forth than I do right now. So if they're able to lower that, what that'll do is, you know, because if it's still 10,000, that could get sort of to where, you know, how Theta is 1,000 right now, and if
Yep.
you end up wanting to add to your stake, it you have to unstake. So in Theta, you're getting paid in TFUEL, and yes, you can take that TFUEL, buy more Theta, and then stake more Theta. But with Theta, there is no inflation rate on Theta. So Theta, you don't have to quote unquote catch the inflation rate, you know. So if you own 1% of Theta right today, you'll always own 1% of Theta going into the future. With TFUEL, if you own 1%, you potentially could end up holding a little less than that 1%. So it's imperative to be able to restake your TFUEL to keep up with the network. Now we'll get into that potentially a little bit later on, what Theta is going to do to mitigate inflation, meaning both coins potentially will hold the same supply that they have, and that comes from the burning mechanism. So there might not even be a having to keep up with inflation on either coin, which is just amazing. A dual coin system with potential no realized inflation.
Yeah.
You know, that's really monumental. But anyhow, so not to get too deep into the weeds, but people soon enough will be able to stake their TFUEL, and as a result, in staking your TFUEL, there will be a computer that is now available to the network, with a base salary to pay electrical and hardware costs. So with GPool, what we're doing here is that we're going to let you guys come and use a computer over with us. So basically what's going to end up happening is you're going to come on and you're going to, oh great, yeah, there you go. So
There we go.
yeah, so okay, so what you're staring at here is, it could probably look a little overwhelming, 4 different levels and so on and so forth. But really all this is saying is just how much that edge node that you're going to end up having us put up on the internet for you, how much that is going to help the network. And that's all it really is. The first one, the gold, I don't know that we ever really offer too many golds. We might end up having a situation where we just spun up a bunch of them and they're gold temporarily and then transfer over to platinum. So what gold means is, gold just means that you're just taking the base salary. You just have your TFUEL staked and you're just taking that base salary. What then the platinum transfers over to is that your node now turns on the capability to relay stream, just like Theta needs, right? To relay all this data. So the platinum is really where you're beneficial to the network. You're getting your base salary. Now, to keep in mind, every node on this chart gets the base salary, and you can actually, if you have a large amount of hardware out there, you could actually become a diamond yourself, and run that. These all 5 of these correlate to the actual edge node themselves. So
Okay. And how do you go from a gold to a platinum to an emerald to a sapphire to a diamond? How do you get into one of these silos?
Okay. So what you're going to do, soon enough, you're going to be on GPool and you're going to say, okay, time for me to stake my TFUEL. You're going to click over on the section for staking TFUEL. And what you're going to see is a lot of edge nodes, tiles like these, all sitting there ready for you to be able to stake to. Okay. And they're going to all have how much they're able to take on. And you might even get into a couple of them, because you might have more than 500,000. And you're there and you're looking at what's available. So basically, we're going to have computers all running behind these little tiles, and you're going to be able to join that computer and stake to that one. And basically, as it fills up, once it hits 500,000, it's no longer on the list, and it just disappears into the background until somebody in that edge node withdraws or unstakes, and now there's opening on that edge node again. So basically, you'll go in and you're going to see them, and you're going to say, okay, oh wow, there's a diamond available. Oh, there's a platinum available. Now, the platinums are going to be what we offer at the very beginning. We'll slowly walk into the gemmed edge nodes. So basically, what you'll end up doing is you'll be staking in public edge nodes. Now, we are working on a potential model for private edge nodes, where you don't want to have to worry about, when you unstake, having to then go find another one to stake back into. And you'll have a nice little private section for you to manage yours, and to have edge nodes sitting there, to where if you say, well, I'm going to unstake this for a couple days and then just restake it, it won't be that big of an issue, because it won't just vanish on you. So we're trying to make sure that we don't get we don't give too many options and clutter it up too much, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we do have those optimized avenues for everyone. So so let's go into now the emerald and sapphire and diamond. Or did you have more questions on it?
Yeah, real quick. So to pay for that, you're taking a 3% commission on the basic and the 4% on this. So I was going to ask, because right now when you go to GPool, there's no way for you to recoup anything on the Guardian node except for people donating to your Patreon group, correct? So this is one way that you are going to help yourself keep this going, instead of having someone to go out and spend $1,000 or something on a computer to sit in their home. You can kind of rent some space through you guys and just pay something out of what you're getting paid. So you're not having to outlay any cash or outlay any coin. It's just going to be taken from what is being earned, correct?
Sure. So basically, how the commission's going to look is that, let's say that we're working with potentially the 4%. Let's say that you were going to get 100 TFUEL. So now what ends up happening is that you get 96 TFUEL and we get 4 TFUEL, and that happens right when the rewards are distributed from the blockchain. So if we all remember that GPool does not pay anything, that's all done on the blockchain between your wallet and the blockchain. All you're doing is at GPool is fulfilling one of the other requirements. First requirement is that you have Theta or TFUEL. The other requirement is that you have a node, either a Guardian node or an Edge node, depending on which one you're staking. And basically, GPool says, here, use ours. So GPool is just fulfilling the second requirement to allow you to stake your Theta. The first one is on you. You have your Theta or your TFUEL in your wallet, and we sort of marry together onto the blockchain. And the blockchain says, okay, you have your Theta, and okay, I see you have a node. And that's all that's happening with GPool. Now the website, while it's great, I want to make sure that everyone knows that there could be a website that pops up and shows every single thing that our GPool site shows. They could look identical to us, and we have not shared any information with anybody, because it's all public information that we're showing. We're just showing it in a more digestible form on GPool. So, if GPool, if you go to click on GPool and we're doing an update on the website, just know that that website holds no funds, does not pay you. It's just a nice way to look at things that are actually already happening. And it's a historical look back. It's not of events to come. It's of events that have already happened, is what you're looking at GPool, it really just is just an easier way to digest everything. So yes. So with the Guardian, or with the edge nodes, what we're going to have here is, as you see, the commissions do go up, and that's because as the edge node gets higher into the emerald, sapphire, and diamond, it requires more hardware on our end. And to be honest with you, so what we're really excited about with being able to get the commission is being able to build a hugely robust network for Theta. So basically what we're doing is we're taking our commission and some of our investments, and we're going to start building out GPU heavy edge nodes. So I guess to do a quick little thing on that, what you see if you go over to the go to that roadmap again. Oh yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's go to the roadmap real quick.
Let's see. This one or the next?
The
The roadmap.
Yeah, I think it's in the
nope,
middle over there.
I have too many.
There
we
it
go.
is. Okay, so if we take a look at Q3 and we go down to that second item there, and we see machine learning, AI, and other compute heavy jobs. Okay, now what I think a lot of people maybe might not understand. I mean, I guess the first task is up there under Q2. Maybe let's look at that. The last one under Q2. Let's maybe, okay. So what that is that's transcoding, okay, and encoding video. So basically, what your GPU will be used for, or your CPU will be used for, and I say yours because you'll have one on GPool that you'll be using as well, as you could use one at your house. So what that'll be doing is that'll be encoding the video for the network. So basically what it's going to end up doing is it's going to be taking some of that workload of things that need to be done for that video and using your computer to do them. So with that, you'll earn extra rewards for allowing them to use your computing power. Once again, it is in the sense of the GPool your as well. So then we transition over down into Q3, and we see that there's machine learning, AI, and other compute heavy jobs. So potentially, what we're talking about here is a Theta network of edge nodes that potentially a research lab developing a vaccine could come and use all of the computing power of everyone on the network of Theta. And for that, they'll pay the premium for that kind of a job to the network in the form of TFUEL. So what we have, when we go back and take a peek at the different levels of, there we go. Okay, so what we have here is what the gold I explained, that's not relaying any stream. The platinum relays stream and it helps pass data around. Once we get into the gems, the compute nodes, now you're talking about giving GPU very complex, hard-working hardware up to the world so that they can solve some really complex equations and heavy learning functions. So as we see, under the platinum, it says that you get your share of the relays. So as streams get relayed through that edge node, you get your base salary, and then you also get your relay rewards. So the base salary, which we'll go over here in a little bit when we go through all of the rewards models, keep in mind that's only just your base salary. You'll still end up getting rewards over and above the base salary when you're in the platinum. And then once you transition into the emerald, sapphire, and diamond, Those are now when you get into level 1, 2, and 3. And you're offering now number crunching GPU hardware. And the higher we
Kind of
go
like
in
the
the,
NVIDIA.
yes, that would right there, that would be the ideal diamond guardian or edge nodes. To have 1,000 of these at GPool would be what I would look at as sort of our target right now. And I know that that might sound a bit obscure for some, because you're talking about, well, they haven't even put a price out there from what I saw on these. You're talking about tens of thousands of dollars for one of these. So that's where we are helping with our commission. The commission that we're taking on all of this is going to help us build. So basically, look at it as a partial donation to help build out the Theta edge network too, and potentially attract some of the bigger research universities over to Theta to be able to utilize some of this really nice high-end software hardware that we'll have for them. So
wow, that's and real quick, just because I know we were talking earlier, and you're first thinking of building a colo facility one, but really what you need to do also long term that I think you guys have on the board is that it's not just one location, but it's global, so that you get more decentralized as you grow.
So let's say, so if we're looking at the whole model, what we'll do is we'll slowly, our goal is to make sure that when you come on to GPool here, however long this might take, months, maybe even closer to a year, probably a year, every single edge node that we're offering on GPool are diamond. That's our hope, is that we slowly transition up to where we can offer nothing but diamond class for everyone. And that will mean that we have a very nice GPU sitting there for a isolated singular edge node computer on every single edge node we have. Instead of shared hardware, it's all dedicated singular to that edge node. And it's going to be exciting to see what Theta can really build out with that at their disposal. And I don't mean just GPool, but all the other players at that point, I'm sure that will be in offering their hardware as well. So basically, that's our vision for the build out on a singular level. We then, as we go along, obviously, we build up redundancies, meaning if your edge node was to go down, we have another one sitting there ready to go up. So basically what we're looking at is, with emeralds and getting out there and starting with the backups and so on and so forth, potentially what we'll have is we'll have one backup for potentially 10 edge nodes. Then we're going to transition into a backup for every other edge node. And then we're going to have a backup for every edge node we have on the network. And potentially, I mean, I don't know, but it would be nice to have maybe a second backup or a third, Anyways, that starts getting into the heavy, too heavy for what it's really doing. But there's nothing that says that while it's not occupied, it can't be doing other. Anyways, that gets a little too far. But basically, our goal is to make sure that we have backups and that we can proliferate globally too. Well, we're going to be, so it's really going to be a sort of a step build out. And as we step, we're building better for the edge network. It's basically going to be this. We're building better hardware and backups and more locations. And then we build more hardware, more backups, more locations. And we hope that as we step up to being able to provide diamonds to everyone, it's that we have diamonds around the world, and that's with backups, So, that's where we're headed, and that's what, we're budgeting, and that's what we're taking a lot of time making sure that we develop this, so that is what we're working towards every day that we're building this.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, that's not an easy task of what you guys have ahead of you. It is.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys mind if I jump in here?
Oh yeah, go.
Sure.
I would love for you guys to possibly take your conversation in a direction that's more understandable to the bulk of the people here. Everything you just said, I'm sure, is unbelievably important. I can't imagine what it takes to put this kind of project together. However, most of the people here probably don't have a clue of what was just said. And so can you guys maybe take this conversation in a direction where people that are investors in Theta and are also using GPool as their pool to stake, maybe just talk about it from the perspective, I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't know that it's important that we turn hundreds of people today into developers, but show them what's coming for them if they're using GPool, if they're going to stake their Theta fuel, they're going to keep staking their Theta. You know, what does this look like for them from that perspective? In other words, I guess in kind of one of the synergies that George and I have is that I don't get in George's way, because George does what he does really good, and I don't need to know how he does it. I just need to know that he does it. And George needs to know that I do what I do, and he doesn't need to know how I do it. He just needs to know that I do it. And so
Yep.
I kind of would love it if you guys would maybe take this conversation in a direction that shows the folks here that are kind of the believers in GPool, what will all this mean to them? What's the new thing coming for them? And maybe leave out some of the technicals of how it's going to happen, why it's going to happen, and all these words that I have no clue what they mean. Can you guys help me with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think I kind of geeked out on this because I've been searching, you know, for some of this information, and it's hard to find on YouTube and different channels. And so it's I kind of geeked out a little bit too much. So Dee, let's take it back up and talk to the people that are here on what they're going to see on GPool. You know, some of the advantages. And I guess, you know, some of them we have covered, that you're not going to need to run your own computer at home and stake your TFUEL, and just some of the advantages and how much you see the increase in value of the tokens themselves.
Sure. Yeah. Let's go back to that image you had loaded there.
Okay, which one?
You just had it there on the screen.
Okay, yep, that one.
There you go. Perfect. All right. So what we're looking at here is, for everyone that doesn't know, this calculator is available to anyone. You don't even have to be have an account on GPool. So when you go to the GPool website, it's sitting right there as calculator. Now, what we're looking at here is, this is what you can enter in and customize and see what your APR is. So what I've put here is that, let's say somebody, because you guys have had listeners and you know, investors for quite some time. So what I did was, on the other one here.
Okay, let me go back to that one.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. So what I did here is I wanted to make sure that, and now not everybody you know, here had paid 10 cents per Theta, but I just wanted to make sure that we all look at where we're actually starting from if we wanted to look at what APRs are that we're getting right now. And you know, you can adjust that depending on what your average was that you had bought your bulk of your Theta at. Some people might be $1 and so on and so forth. So at 10 cents, if you paid 10 cents on average for your Theta, you're earning about 46% APR today. Now, it's easy sometimes to lose track of that because you look at today's price and APRs and so on and so forth. And what we're going to then discuss here is the rewards on 3.0. What everybody's going to end up getting and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to make sure that we all kept in perspective that what we're about ready to talk about is all of sort of newcomers numbers. So if we wanted to go over to that site that I threw together here, your very first tab.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we scroll down, what we're going to end up seeing is, I don't want to get too heavy because people can go to the website, it's tfuel.farm. They can all read all of this. Basically, the principles that are going to be at play here is that you're going to be earning, your APR depends on two different things. It depends on the price of TFUEL, and it also depends on how many TFUEL are staked. So if we scroll down and we take a look, there's going to be a golden ratio, and we're not going to get heavy into all the numbers. It's all there for everyone that wants to explore. So we'll just scroll down a little bit more. So here's the chart, that we look at. So all of that information above explains how we derive sort of at this point here. And what we're looking at here is, starting from the upper left here, is that Theta, this is how much everybody gets paid a day, meaning the whole network gets paid that many TFUEL a day, okay? TFUEL, this is how much the network is going to get paid TFUEL per day. Now, that's the 4%. That's using what's in the code right now. That can change a little bit. We're waiting to see. If we go and we look over, that's the amount of TFUEL and Theta that would be potentially staked. What this means is this: the more people that stake, sort of the less that you get out of that daily amount. So the daily amount is dispersed over to everyone, and it's proportionally given to you depending on how much you have staked. So then we come down over here and we look at price, and we see, okay, $4 Theta, and then you look at TFUEL and you say, wow, that's 64 cents. That's not the price of of TFUEL today. And yeah, what we see here is this: we have this chart that has balanced the supply staked, and then we look at the APRs over at the very far right corner, and we see that those APRs are balanced. Now, for these APRs to balance, that is what TFUEL would have to cost to balance out the formula, okay? If it is not, it does not balance the formula. Now, balancing the formula is quite elegant. Theta has built a masterpiece of a model, because basically how we balance is more TFUELs bought and staked, and that's how we end up balancing. So when more TFUELs bought, the price goes up. Excuse me, the development team is waking up here. Okay, so as more TFUELs bought and the price goes up and more is staked, it all comes down. So if we want to scroll down just a little bit, there we go. Keep on. Here we go. So this shows what out of balance looks like. So here we go. So from that top chart, it was balanced. But now if we take a look here and we see today's price potentially, I know this was today, a few in crypto, right? It was like a year ago, but this was really just yesterday. So if we take a look and we see, okay, Theta at $4, TFUEL at 14 cents, and we go and we look at the APR and we say, oh, holy smokes, okay, well, your APR is a little better in TFUEL. But now if we take a look, that right there is if the supply is balanced, meaning you have the equal amount of people staking Theta and TFUEL. So if we scroll down here and we look at this next one, this one is if the prices are balanced like they're supposed to, but not as many people are staking TFUEL up there. So instead of the 53 and 53%, it's a 23%. And we look at the APR and we're like, oh, okay, well, the price balancing helped bring up Theta's APR, but wow, a lower supply staked also brings up TFUEL's APR. So let's scroll down a little bit more, and this is what we'll look at here. Okay, so this is the model that you could probably say maybe we launch with. Let's hypothetically say this, and why I'm saying this is because potentially we launch here April, 40 some days, and Theta's at $4 and TFUEL's at 14 cents. And we go and we look at the supply up there in the upper right corner, and you have, 53% of the Theta stake like we do now. I think that number's up a little bit more, and then we go and we look at TFUEL. Now this is where we start getting into potentials. And potentially we start off with maybe even lower than 23% staked. And if we do that, we look at the APRs and we go, oh, okay. So potentially when we launch, TFUEL is looking like the APR is actually quite attractive. So what ends up happening then is the network or the markets are going to find balance. You can't have this out of balance like this. So what will end up happening is people will buy TFUEL and start staking it. So this is once again where I want people to remember, we're looking at newcomers. If you remember, you're not getting an APR of 1.6 unless you bought your TFUEL or your Theta today, okay? Your APR is actually quite higher, and it's some people are probably getting even higher than 46% right now because of at what price they paid for their Theta. Just keep in mind when we're looking at this, we're looking at newcomers. And that was one of the things that Theta wanted to make sure that they were good for newcomers as well. A lot of us people who've been here, we've made a lot of money and we're making lots of money every day. We wanted to make sure that it helped encourage new investments as well. So potentially your new investment that you actually took out another position today in is as profitable as your position has been from over the years as well. So what we have here is this. If we remember, Theta's reward APR is based on TFUEL's price. The higher TFUEL's price goes, the higher the APR goes for Theta. And if we know that TFUEL stakes APR is based on how many TFUEL is staked. The more TFUEL staked, the lower the APR goes. So if you have the whole market buying TFUEL today and staking it when it's available to stake, you have a price increase and a supply increase in staking, which makes Theta's APR go up and TFUEL's APR go down. And if we scroll back up to that golden ratio, just a little bit more up, just so we can look at that chart. There you go, right there. So that's where you have the price going in one direction for Theta stakers and the total supply going in the other direction. And that bar right there is the golden ratio where they even out. And then let's scroll back down to that first chart. And there you go, right there. And this is what it would look like level, okay? So potentially 53% now is staked because we started out maybe at 23%. The price of TFUEL is now higher because TFUEL has been bought and staked, and now the APRs are balanced out. So that's what this site goes over a little bit more in depth in the math, and I don't want to get too deep into all of this, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone understands that there should be an equilibrium that's found between Theta and TFUEL's price relation. And if the supply is equal, so if both networks have the same amount staked, the price gap that always balances the equation is 6.25 to 1. So that means that for every one Theta, you can get 6.25 TFUEL on the market. And that's the price gap. It's more about the gap than it is about the actual prices. So
yeah. Well, so TFUEL right now has a lot of catching up to do with the price of Theta being at
to balance it out for sure. I mean, how many X are we talking? I mean, well more than 10X. Yeah, I mean, and that's where you get the arbitrage opportunity. The markets will balance, and there might even be people that set trading bots to the golden ratio, so to say, where when the market falls out of balance, it ends up buying that asset up and balancing it back out, and so forth, you know. So I think that it's going to be a really unique opportunity to see that potentially a trading bot can trade on a price gap or a price ratio versus any other metric. It's going to be interesting to see, you know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I would love to start taking questions. I know you and I could go on for quite some time. If there's anything more, well, I kind of like, I like this bonus right down here. I
Oh
didn't scroll
yeah,
down
yeah. See,
this morning.
so that one is, if you scroll up just one more, so that one, it won't scroll over. Yeah, there you go. So this one I just put out there, like, what would it look like if every coin out there was staked, like 100%? And the worst case scenario would be that everyone gets still a 4% APR. So then, scrolling back down, I put one together showing what the price of an asset would be potentially that has 100% of it off of the exchange. Like if it's all
Oh yeah,
staked and locked up. But once again, as we see, Theta to $1,000 and the price gap being equal to where it needs to be at the 6.25, that means TFUEL is $160. Now, I'm just saying that it's interesting to note that once equilibrium is found and the price gap is tightened, that everything balanced, it's going to have a pretty extreme partnership and relationship they'll both have. You know, they service each other, which is amazing, to be honest.
yeah. Great. Okay. Okay, we're in an hour and 20 minutes. I guess, do we want to take some, would you be willing to take some questions if people had it on?
Sure.
Jay, if you want to help me on this too, that'd be great. Let's see. Okay, let me start. DOS. Taking.
Okay, here's the
Let's
first
see.
question. I'll just read the first one. Do you know why Theta and Theta Fuel aren't available on U.S. exchanges yet? Is that Theta's choice or U.S. market choice? That's
That
to
one's
Dee.
going to be for you, Dee.
Yeah, I know that they're working. They have some non-disclosure forms that they have signed with some exchanges. They answered that in a public AMA, and they're working on getting some U.S. exchanges. They can't tell us how far along they are, and I know that from what it sounds like, they've been working for quite some time. So all hopes that it's going to happen soon.
And then here's another question for you, Dee. You mentioned the 500,000 coin count, and you mentioned the lower end of that, and you said you were hoping that they would lower the lower end of that. I'm wondering, will they raise the upper end of that? Like for me, I mean, I've got millions of TFUEL. Is there going to be a node I can put that in, or am I going to have to put that in, 20 different nodes to be able to stake it all?
Right. So what you would do, as far as raising it, I'm not sure that they will. Their goal is to get more nodes on the network. So what you would end up doing is you'd come to GPool and you'd have a couple of tiles lined up, and each one has its max fill. And what you're doing at that point is keep in mind that you have now a couple more opportunities to get even more rewards. So if you put it all into one, you would end up earning just the base salary on that, which is great. But then it would only be able to relay one stream at a time and so on and so forth. Because you have a couple of them lined up, one might be relaying and then the other one goes to relay. And anyways, this should translate into more rewards in the end. So it certainly, while it's a job for us to handle on the back side of things, for everybody that's going to be involved, it basically is going to end up where you potentially get more rewards because you're in a couple more edge nodes. So it shouldn't be too much of a problem. And we're going to design it so that it's pretty easy to work with.
Yeah, because you guys are designing a custom solution.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah, so I'm going to skip over a couple of these questions that are just, guys, these are common sense. You're asking, should you use GPool over using your satellite-based data? Come on, unless you're using Starlink, you don't have enough computing power to run anything on a satellite. So I'm just going to kind of go over some of those and just bypass that. I just tested unstaking my Theta in GPool, and I'm glad I did. When I entered the GPool Guardian node holder in my Theta wallet using the scan QR code, my Theta wallet says address not valid. I wrote to the GPool support desk asking what could be the issue, but in the meantime, I was wondering if someone here has perhaps already experienced and resolved this problem. I've unstaked mine, and I had no problem unstaking mine. But
yeah, let me touch on
question to Dee.
Yeah. So probably probably hasn't gotten a response because I'm in here right now. But yeah, I've seen a lot of emails coming. So yeah, I'm going to get to that email. But to answer it right now, because that might help and benefit quite a few people, is that QR that you scan and that long address that you scan to stake is not the same that you use to unstake. I know that might sound confusing, but that long summary and that QR that you use to delegate is different than the holder address. What you use to stake is called the holder summary. The holder address that you need to unstake is actually right there on your wallet on the unstaking page. It says holder address right in it. So what you need to do is when you're on GPool, we have the guides down at the footer. You just click on the guides, and we have a guide to show you exactly how to undelegate at any time. So basically, it in that guide, it explains that you need to have the holder address. And keep in mind that you're not withdrawing it in a sense that you're withdrawing it from an exchange. You're withdrawing it being staked. So it's still in your wallet, even though it's not in your available balance because it's not available, it's actually staked. So even though it's now what ends up happening is you unstake it, and when you unstake it, it's just becoming available in your wallet again. So it's not moving anywhere. So when you're putting in a withdraw address, don't get concerned that this isn't your wallet address, because that's actually not what it's asking for. What it's saying is, of the guardians that you're staked to, which guardian do you want to unstake from? That's all it's asking. That address is just to identify out of a potential list of guardians that you're delegated to. So imagine that there's a couple pools out there and you're staked to GPool and you're staked to another pool, and you go to unstake. It just wants to say, hey, which of these addresses that you're staked to are you unstaking from? So that's all it really
means. And there's the video that I put together kind of walks you through that, because I've had a couple people contact me and like, I'm putting this in and it doesn't work. It's like, well, just watch the step by step and do it, because people do get
keep in mind, this should go to the wayside as well with the one-click delegation that Theta has given us, which you'll be able, with the one-click delegation, you'll be able to go into your wallet, select GPool from potentially a drop-down menu, click on it, delegate to it, and you delegate. And then when you want to undelegate, there will be a button that you undelegate to from, and the guides won't need to be even necessary. You'll just get our name from a list, you'll click, and then in you'll delegate, and out you'll unstake as well. So the process is going to get a lot less cumbersome.
That's good. Good morning, Jay. Will you provide an update target price for TFUEL? Would be great to monetize this conversation. Let me monetize the conversation with you, but before I do, let me also say to folks asking for an update on my target price for TFUEL, I just did a video Tuesday about Theta. I updated my target price for Theta, and I said in the video 3 times, I have no new update for TFUEL. So from Tuesday to today, there is no update. Now, let's monetize this conversation. A person would have to be an absolute moron to not take free money. Excuse me for putting it so bluntly. You'd have to be an absolute moron to not set yourself up to win bigger than you're already winning. So the monetization talk goes like this. I'll use Wax as an example rather than TFUEL. Theta staking has not been around as long as wax staking, or if it was, we didn't have the ease to do it like we do with GPool. As soon as George dug into GPool, I was like, great, let's set it up, let's do it. This is fabulous. But you know, I earned hundreds of thousands of wax tokens over the last couple of years, just leaving them sitting there, going in and claiming them once or twice a month, restaking them, hundreds of thousands. That's free money. If wax, like what's happened today, has gone up 58% today because the NFT market is now starting to take off, which, by the way, folks, should be a signal that the market is reaching some topping. If you go back to 2017, when everybody started putting hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars into crypto beanie babies, let's just call it that, within 15 days, the market collapsed. I don't think that Bitcoin or the market is at a point of collapsing, but I do think from 4,000 to 60,000, with no bigger than a 31, 32% correction, I do think we're getting set up for a little bit better correction and then upward and onward from there. So I'm not, don't take that the wrong way. But to monetize the talk, if wax goes to $2 and I have hundreds of thousands of them for free because I've had them staked, guess what? There's your monetization. And it's the same thing here. You don't need, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what Dee is sharing with us is we're making your life easy. So all you have to do is point, click, drag, and drop and earn your percentage. GPool's going to keep a little bit for all that they're doing, which I think is minimal, but I think it's great they're getting paid. And then from that perspective is when you do go to sell your TFUEL, when you do go to sell your Theta, how much did you get free? And if you got it free for a year, or you got it free for 18 months because you were staked and you were earning your percentage back, and that's what's fantastic about the models that Dee and George are going through is you can see there the kind of the percentages that you're getting back based on when you got involved. And then that's when your conversation of monetization comes around. Do you sell your Theta at $10? And do you sell your Theta Fuel at $2? And I mean, look, I've bought a lot of Theta Fuel, but if I take the Theta Fuel I was given for free, which was millions of Theta Fuel, and I average it together with the ones I've purchased, my average price is way, way, way down at the bottom. I mean, it's just nothing. Like it's almost 100% profit, right? So everybody's conversation of monetization will be different. How long did you have it staked for? How much in that time frame did you get? And now at what price are you selling it at? There's going to be people that watch Theta Fuel go to an enormous price, and then they're going to watch it go all the way back down. And so when you want to talk about the balancing of markets, the balancing of any stake pool comes in a bear market. You'll really get some balance then when you come into the bear market. And what I mean by that is it levels the playing field because so many people will not take a profit because most people don't know how to get into a good trade. They have no clue how to get out of a good trade. And so that kind of is the answer to that question. Let's see if we have some more for Dee here. Thank you, Jay, for reining in the techies. I wasn't understanding that. Me either. I'm glad these guys are smart and they do what they do because I don't have to. I get to do what I do good. So thank you, Dee, for that. Thank you for being a brainiac, George and Dee both. I have had a Guardian node running on my computer, but I couldn't figure out how to hook it up with a Theta wallet. Am I just running it and not losing the fuel? Am I just running it and not losing the fuel? That's the question, I guess.
I guess I'd have to take a little bit, stronger look at their, what their address and what it looks like on the blockchain to completely answer. But from the assumption, it sounds like they have the edge node or the Guardian node running and they haven't staked to it. There's a guide for that, and it's pretty close to our guide for delegation as well. So they'll just need to go to the GitHub guides through Theta. Theta's got information out there. And just as a matter of fact, I think even on the download page for the Medium article for the Edge or the Guardian node, there is a link to their guide. You know, however you find the guide, there will be a guide to show you how to quote unquote link them together. Basically, you're going to take that Guardian node that's just sitting there and you're going to stake to it. And there's a guide for that.
Yeah, because all you're really needing is the summary and putting it in.
Correct.
And so you're kind of doing the same thing. And honestly, like I gave up. I bought a computer specifically for running a Guardian node, and I was like, nope, I cannot do it as well because I looked at the stats. I don't have the link, but it shows your uptime and downtime, and you don't get paid for your downtime. And so I was looking at it and saying, I'm paying for power, I'm paying for maintenance, I'm paying for just making sure that it stays up. I don't want to do that because I'd rather go to someone like GPool and have them handle everything, and I don't have to worry about it all. And my return is better, than running it on my own and looking at the stats and my downtime and what I'm running here at home, which is great, gig up, gig down, but I still had enough downtime to pay for you guys to do it, and it was much, much cheaper.
Yeah.
I was just going to go to the next question here. Does TFUEL reach a price where it cripples the Theta network because it's too expensive to interact with, i.e. ETH gas prices are deterring some users? Do you have an opinion on that, Dee?
Yeah, so, well, not only just from a gas perspective, and when we see, how low the gas price is, I would love for that decimal place. I believe it's the sixth decimal place. I'd love for that to actually be a meaningful number in TFUEL value. But with that being said, there's also the end that a $10 TFUEL, that might look, sort of silly. You may be earning one of those a month, and people don't want to deal with decimals and so on and so forth. So let's say that we're at a $10, $20, TFUEL. What I would foresee happening, and I don't have this complete firsthand knowledge, but I would see them doing what's called a redenomination. They just shift the decimal, and instead of you saying that you have, one TFUEL worth $100, you have 100 TFUEL worth $1. So not to get into the math and all that stuff, but what they would do is they just shift the decimal so that it was more easily digested and able to be used on the network a little bit more fluidly for the average person without a bunch of messy decimals involved. It can get really confusing to some for these decimals.
Yeah. This person says, thank you for the live stream. Do you know of any tokens that will come in the future that may compete with Theta? I think there's one out now that's trying to compete with Theta. Is there not?
I have seen a couple different coins, and I guess you could look at it from an end that Theta is doing so many things that it could actually touch a couple different genres of competition. You even have the smart contracts that we have seen them launch, where it potentially is competing for market share of the smart contracts as well. So yeah, I think that you could really make an argument for competition on many levels. I think it's more of, for me, it's more of a one-stop shop. Theta has quite a bit of the elements brought into it, and potentially the ability to keep a lot of people in its ecosystem, which is great. And I think that that's maybe a little bit, underlooked, where some of these other networks are doing some of the things that Theta are doing, but when you look at the grand scheme of everything, you're saying, wow, Theta actually has built two networks and paying for both networks out of the block reward and then burning it so that there's no inflation. And it's doing that with smart contracts, with streaming, Airbnb for your Wi-Fi, basically. And it's amazing when you look at that, keeping it all into a same ecosystem.
Robin here says, is it possible to stake and then sell at any time? Are you suggesting we stake both Theta and TFUEL and invest the same amount into both. I think the question about investing the same amount into both is not something that Dee can advise you on, or even I can advise you on. That's your own. That's on you guys what you decide to do there. I do think that the Theta team was very. They were making a huge suggestion when they airdropped people, 5 times per 1 Theta token. So that's a pretty good suggestion, I think. But the first 2 questions I think are good for Dee. Is it possible to sell at any time? Are you suggesting that they stake both Theta and TFUEL?
Yeah, so selling at any time. Basically what happens is to go back to the example, your coins aren't going anywhere. They're just getting time locked in your wallet. So when you stake, it gets locked and out of your available balance and into the staking balance. And when you go to unlock that, Theta has implemented a cooldown mechanism to make sure that the network isn't so volatile. And you sit through about 60 hours. And I say about is because it's actually in block number, not a clock time. So once you get through the period, you're able to sell and move and do everything that you wanted to do. So it's about 60 hours. And then as far as, should you stake both of them? Well, if you own both of them, yeah, I'd stake both of them. I mean, you're getting more rewards by having both of them staked, for sure,
Okay, let's see here. Someone's saying they're on your website. They're very confused. George has got a video about this, guys. Do you not have a video on YouTube, right, about how to stake on GPool?
Yeah, it's that's why I get a lot of emails saying, "Hey, I have a question about XYZ," and it's so it's there. What I'll do is I'll make sure that we get this and some of the other links, some of the Medium articles, so you can kind of go through and summarize that for yourself and see what information you want to learn about Theta, TFUEL, GPool, etc.
And someone's asking, did he say 60 hours or 16? It's 60 hours, about 60 hours. He did say about 60 hours. So it does take you a little bit of time to unstake. I unstaked my ADEX, my ADEX, and that's 30 days of wait time before it comes back into your wallet. So each one of these coins are a little differently. Theta is 60 hours. That is our last question of the day about the TFUEL and Theta. So did you guys have any closing thoughts there before we move on? I've got somebody else I need to bring on here that's been waiting.
No, I want to really thank Dee for coming on, and I know it's been too long since we've had you come on, and we got too down in the weeds. And next time we'll keep it up a little bit. But I know maybe we can. Let me see, when is it going to happen? Maybe in 49, 50 days, we can have you come back and talk a little bit about 3.0.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I look forward to it. I appreciate you guys having this platform for me to discuss all this.
And Dee, I'd
Absolutely.
like to say too, I think on behalf of everybody here, again, you're very smart at what you do. I have none of those skills, and without your platform, I'd be over here going, "What do I do? How do I make money with my Theta?" And I'm not an advocate of putting my money on some platform. For example, let's just call it a BlockFi. Like, I'm not an advocate of that. So you've given all of us the ability through your GPool, and now it looks like what you're going to be doing with ThetaFuel, being able to run the different nodes where we can eliminate that third-party counter risk, and all we really have to trust is the code that you guys put together and that everything that you've built. And I just can't thank you enough for that, because for a guy like myself who believes in the project, I'm the guy who says, hey, I'm going to invest in Elon Musk, not Tesla. And I'm the guy that's saying I'm going to invest in the team of people that built YouTube, and that's why I'm investing in Theta, right? I'm investing in that team. But then you come along with all your smarts and all your background and build something I get to basically win bigger from. And I just want to thank you for that on behalf of the whole team.
For sure. Yeah, you're welcome. It's actually, it's a pleasure to do it. It's exciting to be able to, be involved at this level and like I was saying, help grow with hardware and a robust network.
Quite a few people here are thanking you for coming, Dee, so I want to extend that to you. There are some more people that obviously didn't hear what we said a minute ago. They're saying, can you walk us through this process? There is a video that George has done on the YouTube that walks you through the entire process. It's free. Dee, thank you so much for coming on, buddy. We're going to continue on here. You're welcome to hang out with us, but we're going to continue on. I'm going to be bringing Mike on, guys.
Thanks, Dee.
Let's see here. Let me see if I can find him and see if he's still available. Put that back. Sorry, guys, there's so many people here. I'm having to scroll through just to get to where I need to go.
There really are a lot of people here.
Here we go. Here's Mike. Mike, I've got you unmuted, my friend. If you can unmute on your end, we can bring you on here and talk just a second, and then we're going to jump into people's questions. Guys, if you want to start putting your questions in for the day, just in general about crypto, feel free to do that. I had some information I was going to go through, but we're going to put that off till next time. We're quite a ways into this live stream already. Mike, I need you to unmute your microphone on your GoToWebinar control panel, or else I'm not going to be able to bring you on. All right, Mike, let us know if you get that worked out. We're going to go over to people's questions. Guys, again, put your questions in general. Let's see here. Which exchange do you sell DOS network regarding liquidity? You can do DOS on any of the DEX exchanges. Those are fantastic. We typically use Caleb and Brown. So you can use that. You can use one of the DEX exchanges, either way. I've done it on both myself. Let's see here. Wishing you a joyous and bright morning. Thank you very much. Good morning and welcome to Jay George Show. Starting with special guest Dee. Yep. I'll be taking profits soon and also paying for my crypto training and live streams in crypto. Do you have a suggestion on how to take profits to enable this? I mean, most people subscribe to my service and they take their profits when I take my profits. They maybe are not at a point yet where they can make those decisions for themselves. So they say, hey, if Jay's selling, I'm selling. And if Jay's not selling, I'm not selling. And so that's most people that subscribe here. There are quite a few that have been here for a couple, 3 years now, and they're starting to make a lot of their own decisions, which makes me very proud, happy, and excited to see. But as far as how to take your profits, I would recommend you try not to do it on a typical exchange because you will find you will run into many, many roadblocks. What is the difference between staking and buying a coin? Staking a coin is kind of like, okay, you have dollars, and you go into your bank and you say, listen, will you guys pay me interest if I lock my dollars up for 7 years? And they say, yeah, we'll pay you a peanut interest rate, something that would take you like 67 years to double your money. So, sometime down the road when you're just about to expire, you might could have a double on your money. And that's the same as staking. You buy a coin, you have it in your wallet. George and I really are not advocates of doing any type of staking where you can't keep control of your own coin. We don't want you giving up the control of your coin. If you're giving up the control of your coin, you no longer own it. If Caleb and Brown is holding your coins, you don't own those coins. And you just think you own those coins until something crazy no one was expecting happens at Caleb and Brown, just like OKEX. Nobody was expecting the Chinese government to come along and arrest this man and hold him in custody for who knows how long. Nobody was expecting that. But during that time, you found out real quick you didn't own your coins, didn't you? Because you couldn't remove them from the exchange. So we are not advocates of doing any staking unless you can do it in a way where you keep control of your coin. And to answer your question a little shorter, it's just the ability to basically make an interest return on your coin. The thing I love about crypto is this. Let's just say you got 10,000 Ethereum tokens and you have someone on your team like George and you invest in your own node and you stake all 10,000 of them. And they're going to pay, who knows, 7%, right? So they're paying you 7% in the coin. So you have 10,000, they're paying you 7% of 10,000. They're paying you a number of coins over the course of a year. But if you have a little savviness about yourself and you can understand when to be staking and when not to be staking, you can actually really increase your reward. You can't really gauge it. When ADEX says we're paying you 49%, you really didn't earn 49%. You really earned a lot more than 49% if you took your profits at the right time. 49% is awesome, but if you take your profits at the right time and you look back, you can go, oh, well, that was more than 49%. I made 212%. So, but for folks that don't understand the ability of taking profits at the right time, they're just stuck with 49%. Not that that's bad. Oh, let's see here. Susan says she only has 1,300 Theta. George, correct me if I'm wrong. You can't stake on GPool unless you have 10,000. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct. You know, and things change. But yeah, that was the minimum because it was much higher. And let me go back and check that because I know things have changed and it may change as far as when 3.0 comes out too.
Yeah, so someone says here, basic question, what's the purpose of Theta Fuel versus Theta? What is their relationship? That probably would have been a better question for Dee. I can just tell you this, and this is one of the reasons I'm invested in Theta. When Theta kind of came around on the scene, I think the first person to really give Theta a name was Michelle White Dove, and so I'd love to give her that credit. I had never heard it before she talked about it, but then at the same time, right about the time she talked about it, I was sitting on a phone call with one of my contacts in Europe, and they said to me, do you remember the guys that built YouTube? And I said, I do. And he said, they've been commissioned to build the next platform. And the key word there is been commissioned. Understand what I'm trying to tell you without telling you. They were commissioned to build YouTube, and they've been commissioned to build Theta. And so when you get marching orders that high, when the marching orders come from that high up the scale, and you start and begin to see all the big money pouring into that behind the scenes, I don't have to know every detail about it. I don't have to know exactly how Theta Fuel, the burn rate, the code. I personally don't have to know. But when I can see my partners at Morgan Stanley and I see how much Theta Fuel they're holding in their wallet and I see how much Theta they're holding in their wallet, I can go, yeah, I can get on board with this. I'm big on following the bigger money. I'm not so big on grabbing the latest, greatest DeFi project that just came out that's going to 300x jump on board and get your trillions. That's not me. If the DeFi project's good, it'll still be here after it does its pump and dump, and we'll know a lot more about it, and I'll get on board at that time.
Yep. And just to let you know, it is a minimum DIM to me of 1,000 Theta to stake now. It is, they brought that down.
Okay, so Susan can stake hers. So guys, use George's video. It's on our YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is the Bitcoin Academy. And he's got one there. You can search for it. It's the GPool staking video that he put up, oh, I don't know, almost a year ago or 8 months ago,
you know,
at least 8 months ago.
Yeah, I updated it for 2021 because the interface on GPool changed a little bit and I wanted to reflect that. So it is updated to what what it was in January, I believe. So I'll have to log in and see if anything else has changed. But yeah, it's there and we'll get that linked.
Someone's asking here, they didn't know if I wanted to talk about this on the air. I'm perfectly fine with it. How do you work out what grand fib levels you're stretching towards for your targets? I don't work it out. I don't use grand Fibonacci levels to determine my target. That I don't do. But when I come up with my target, I can then look and see, do I have confluence? Confluence is where you can take multiple Fibonacci tools and see a line where they all add up. So you might be looking at the Fibonacci ratio based on an extension, based on a pullback. You might be looking at Fibonacci based on the entire move that's happened in a year. And then you may be looking at the grand Fibonacci. And when you put all those three together and you see, oh, look here, there's a confluence line where all of them hit the same point. That's something that's where you go from Fibonacci being Fibonacci to Fibonacci being powerful. Okay, so what are the difference factors in the account when you change your target? Okay, so like I say, that's not my primary target source. Which exchange do you sell? DOS Network, we talked about that. To Jay or anyone, when Theta becomes available to purchase on Coinbase, what do you expect the price to do? Go up 2x or 20x? Possibly. Any thoughts? I think that I'm not basing my target price for Theta. You guys know I gave you a $6 to $7 target price on Theta when Theta was 10 cents. There's 300 people here minimum that will back me up. When it was 10 cents, I gave a $6 to $7 target. Today we hit 450. We're on our way. I've already updated the target to a new level, which I won't put out today. There's too many people here that are here as freebies. But the folks that are paying for it, you know what my new target is. I put it out on Tuesday of this week. So from that perspective, what will happen when Coinbase says we're going to put Theta out there? I don't know. What will happen when, and here's the other thing, is it already baked in? Is it already baked in? Like that information leaked out a long time ago that Coinbase was looking at Theta. So is that already baked into the pie? I don't know the answer to that. I'm not going to pretend to. What's going to happen the minute that 3.0 comes out? Is the price going to dump? Can I remind you guys that we are investors in a space where most of the time, it's especially when everything's speculative. Is Theta a company making money? No. Is Theta a company promising all these things we're going to do and Sony's coming on? Yeah, they are. It's basically the one coin. How should I say that? It's the one coin theory. Well, this is the one coin that's going to do this, and this is the one coin that's going to revolutionize that, and this is the one coin. I mean, guys, look, Ethereum hit $2,000 recently, and it does not make any money. It's a work in progress. The fees are too high. Are they going to actually bring Theta 2.0 to scale? I mean, it's all speculative. And the reason I'm pointing that out to you is because when you're in a speculative market, more than ever before, it's always buy the rumor, sell the news. The more speculative the market, the more that statement applies. Buy the rumor, sell the news. So on the day that 3.0 comes out, that might be the very day that Theta dumps, okay? Because now people bought the rumor all the way to the date, and now they've launched it and it comes out. Look at what just happened to Cardano. Everybody was buying the rumor. They're going to have a hard fork. You're going to be able to build on Cardano. And on the day it comes out, it goes down 23%. It's buy the rumor, sell the news. Don't forget that. It's important. Is this where you want questions? Yes, it is. Hi, Jay. Any word on whether the free Qtum airdrop QI swap worth hanging on to? It's free money, guys. It's free money. I don't have any plans to sell mine right now. Just like I haven't sold my Bitcoin Cash fork. I still hold most of my Bitcoin forks. So it's free money. If we get to a point where it's worth taking that as profit, by that time we'll know more about it. It's a little too new to know too much. Can you please speak about what percentage of capital you have allocated to Bitcoin versus alts at the moment? I have more. If I look at my, how do I say this? So some of you guys are new, and there used to be a time where I actually talked about how much crypto I had. That was really stupid on my part. You guys have heard me say things like, that's just really stupid. Well, let me talk about myself for a minute. That was really stupid for me to talk about my own personal crypto. You learn really quickly when you're in crypto, you talk about other people's crypto, you don't talk about your crypto. But to answer your question and not talk about my crypto, I have a list of coins that when we get to a point where we can take profits and rebuild our portfolio, I'm going to change that list. But what that list is it's a list of about 5, 6, 7 cryptos that are more of a guaranteed winner, meaning that if crypto's going up, you can count on them to go up. For example, EOS has gone up a little bit. It's not on the list. It's an altcoin. It's not a more of a guaranteed coin. What is on the list? Ethereum's on the list. In fact, it's the top of the list. It's coin number 1, and Bitcoin is coin number end. It's at the end of the list. Out of those more of a guaranteed coins, I want my biggest position in Ethereum. Why? Well, let's see. Litecoin's on the list. Neo's on the list. Bitcoin Cash is on the list. When I redo the list, Cardano will be on the list, Polkadot will be on the list, but I haven't done that yet. And at this time, when we look at that, and there's 300 people, 400 people here that'll back me up on this as well. For the last 2 years, I've been telling people, number 1 on my list, Ethereum. And you go, well, gosh, Manacoin went up more than Ethereum. I get it. I understand that. But Manacoin is not a 6-7 year project that's proven itself that the government is trading bonds on. Manacoin Decentraland, is it going to be big? Maybe. But right now, it's just the one coin that's going to revolutionize the gaming world. It's the one coin that's going to change everybody's perspective. Right now, it's all speculation. But there are governments trading bonds with smart contracts on Ethereum. That's why it's up there, and Manacoin is not up there. Now, how did that work out for us? As a team, how did that work out for us? I kept saying, Ethereum's number 1, Ethereum's number 1. Oh my gosh, I'm buying Ethereum. It's 108 tonight. Oh my gosh, I'm buying more Ethereum. I can't believe it's $92. Oh my gosh, go back through Patreon and look at how many times I put buying more Ethereum, buying more Ethereum, buying more Ethereum, all at the lows. And now when you look at the low price to the high price, Ethereum for the year from last March to this March has gone up 24 times its money. Did Bitcoin go up 24 times its money? No. Bitcoin went up 12 times its money. I think there's a place where you can have some Bitcoin in your wallet. I'm not telling you don't have it. I certainly have it. I have a lot of it still, as a matter of fact. But the big stack of Bitcoin, I sold it off at $14,000. I sold some of it off at $6,000. I'm fixing to sell off the last of it when we get up here around 60 to 63. And I'm kind of done having Bitcoin in my tradable portfolio. I have taught on this extensively about how the X factor has gone out of Bitcoin and is now available in some of Bitcoin's brothers and sisters. And that's what I mean when I say buy more Ethereum, buy more Ethereum. Hope that answers your question. A little bit long-winded there. I have problem with loading SIA wallet. Loading block stop. What CPU RAM is needed? Not a question for a live stream.
Yeah, just make sure you have the wallet updated. That's mainly the biggest issue people have is you're not running the latest version and you may not be on the right chain because you don't have the right wallet.
How do we know our coins are safe at Caleb and Brown? Nobody from Bitcoin Academy, nobody from Telegram group, nobody from this Patreon group has ever said for you to keep your coins at Caleb and Brown. So you're asking a question that goes totally against what we teach. I teach nobody to leave their coins at Caleb and Brown. And if I'm not teaching that, then that question becomes irrelevant, doesn't it? How do we know our coins are safe at Caleb and Brown? Your coins are only safe when they're in your possession. I will say it again. If the coin you bought is not in your possession, you do not own it. If your paycheck, if you work a job and they deposit an ACH or they write you a check on Friday or once a month and you go put it in the bank, you do not own it. What are you talking about, Jay? Of course I own it. It's in my bank account. It's not your bank account. You guys have got to wake up, do some homework, turn off the idiot box, get away from those headphones that you constantly have going in your ears with your favorite music, and you've got to go learn some stuff. The world is changing right in front of you. The transfer of wealth is happening right now, right in front of you. And you've got to speed up. You've got to really speed up. Go read the Dodd-Frank Act, which used to be the Consumer Protection Act. Go read that and find out it's not called a bank account anymore. It's called a deposit account. And you're a third-party creditor to your own money. It's not your money when you put it in the bank. If those coins are not in your wallet where you have the keys, they're not your coins. Hear me loud and clear today, please. George, tell everybody what happened to the one exchange that was holding, I don't know what it was, IOST?
Oh, yeah, bis.com. That was where I held my IOST in the beginning because it was really the only place that I could find. And then when I found that there was a way that I could hold it on my own through a wallet because time, progressed and so did the technology, I took it off and I'm glad I did because if you go to bis.com, it's no longer there. It was taken over by the Chinese government and good luck getting any type of getting your coins back because you just were not going to be able to do that. I know of 3 people in this group that had that happen. And so that's why I always recommend that you hold them on your own because if you don't hold them, you don't own them. And it may not be convenient and you may have to buy something and figure out where to put it. But being secure, being safe isn't necessarily always convenient. So you just have to make that trade-off. Which do you want more, convenience or security?
Now, let me come over the top. Let me come all the way over the top of George's story. I'm going to one-up George here after I asked him to go through that story. You guys remember a company called Mt. Gox? Did you know
I
that
do.
did you know that in 2010 when they went down, and nobody even knows why they went down, by the way. Nobody even knows why the network went down. Like, that's never been made public. They're just gone. You know how many Bitcoin they had on their platform? Who knows? Somebody tell me. I'm going to wait for just 1 second for you guys to tell me how many Bitcoin, and if you're Googling it, you're cheating. How many Bitcoin? Nope, not 50,000. That's a good guess. Not 50,000. No guesses? Just one guess of 50,000. How about 850,000 Bitcoin they had on their platform when they went down that the Chinese government, the Japanese government has had control over since that day? By the way, while I'm talking about it, you might want to do a little homework on Mt. Gox to see that there's about $8.4 billion worth of Bitcoin about to be paid out to people that had an average price of $400 per Bitcoin. What are you talking about, Jay? I'm talking about the fact there's a whole group of people that have been waiting for 11 years to get any kind of payout. And when their Bitcoin went down, their Bitcoin was worth $494. There's a payout coming to the Mt. Gox crew probably this month. Do you think if you lost your Bitcoin in 2010 and it was worth $494, and then you got it back in 2021, or even a portion of it back in 2021, and the price was 63,000, do you think you might sell a Bitcoin or two? Do you think you might take some profit? $8.4 billion. You want to see Bitcoin go down? You want to see Bitcoin go down hard and fast and understand really what liquidity is all about and what it's not about? Wait till Mt. Gox does this payout. It's going to take a lot of people by surprise. The fact that I've now spoken to you about it in the live stream, it should not take you by surprise. If you sell your Bitcoin because I sell my Bitcoin, and I've already told you where I'm selling my Bitcoin. I've been telling you for 7 months where I'm selling my Bitcoin. And guess what? We're almost there. Point? You mean 7 months ago I gave you a target and we're almost there. We've come within $5,000 of that target. Point? Which person on YouTube told people it was going to 55, 60K? Just name them right out. I'm interested to look at their channel. Go ahead, just put them in the chat. I'll wait a minute. Nobody? Nobody. Seriously, nobody? Come on, there's got to be. Those guys got 300,000-400,000 viewers. Got to be some people there that knew it was going to 55, 60K. Couldn't have just been me. So here's my point. I am talking to you now about the fact that there's $8.4 billion worth of sellers coming to Bitcoin. That interests me more than anything Janet Yellen has to say. Anything she has to say, I'm not interested. She's a talking head. She's told what to say. They're going to do what they can do to manipulate the price of Bitcoin. We know that. But $8.4 billion worth of sellers, $8.4 billion of Bitcoin, of people that want to take their profit after 11 years, that interests me, and it should interest you too. So we'll go back, if we sell our Bitcoin at 63, 62, 65, anywhere in there, and I've already told you, for me, that's 34 times my money on some of those Bitcoin. And on some of those Bitcoin, it's 15, 18 times my money. If you do that and the price goes up another 15,000 and you're sour about it, you need to quit being an investor. Because the moment you get sour about taking a 34x profit or a 20x profit or a 15x profit, you have become the spoiled brat of investing. And they actually put it a different way. Here's how they put it. They say bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered. And that's being a pig. That's saying, I'm not happy with my 34x because if I'd have stayed in, I could have got 37x. I could have got 34.5x. And I'm just not happy. That's being a pig. And I'm telling you today in this live stream, if you become a pig, you will get slaughtered. And the moment you become that pig, the next time around, you second guess your every decision. And you go, but last time, oh gosh, last time I sold my Bitcoin and man, it went up $10,000 more. What if that happens again now and I sell it now? I mean, I'm up 10x, but what if? What if? See, I have a plan, and my plan is if everybody talks about the liquidity swap, to me, when you guys mention it to me, you talk about it like it's fact. When I talk about it to you, I talk about it like it's a mystery. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? I kind of expect it's going to happen. We've seen quite a few in the past bull markets. But if we get a liquidity swap, I plan to sell every crypto I have because the dollar amount's too big for me to ignore. It's just like the people in, if you look at the blockchain that are holding Bitcoin at 65K, there's a lot of people that become billionaires. They've never been billionaires before. I think that number's too big to ignore. but you may have just bought your crypto a month ago. So that's what I'm telling you. You got to trade your portfolio. I have to trade my portfolio. But if we get the liquidity swap, I sell every single crypto I have. Some of them are going to hit my target. They're going to hit it like to the T. Really, to the T, they're going to hit my target. You've already seen examples of that this year. To the T, they hit my target. Some of them going to overperform. We might get to capture some of that overperformance. I don't know. It's going to be a fast-moving time in crypto. Some of them might only make it halfway to my target. That's why I try to pick coins that can outperform. When I'm looking at an altcoin, I like to pick a coin that can outperform Ethereum. So if I choose to put my money in an altcoin that could maybe go 70x, and I get halfway to my target, I got a 35x, which outperformed the 25x I was getting at Ethereum. Otherwise, I should have just had my money in Ethereum. So there's a lot of moving parts as an investor. I teach you guys from the very beginning that what you want to really hone in on is allocation. It's the one thing everybody screws up. People come in the live stream and they go, I got a $10,000 bonus, and I'm just wondering if you could put it in one crypto, what would it be? What they're trying to say to me is, I'm a gambler, and I want to walk up to the roulette wheel, and I want to slap this $10,000 down, and I want to be successful. Can you tell me which coin it is? Or they'll send me a message and say, I just got $10,000 bonus, and I was thinking about ThetaFuel or PPT or Digibyte. What do you think? Which one would you go in? You know what my standard answer is on every single time? My standard answer is, if those are the three you, not me, you are thinking about, what's wrong with all three? What's wrong with all three? Well, but Jay, you have a target on ThetaFuel of $2 plus. So why wouldn't I just do that one? Well, just because I have a target, guys, I'm looking around. Hang on a minute. Let me move some stuff on my desk here. I'm just trying to find my crystal ball. Oh, damn, I don't see it. No crystal ball. I'm giving you a target the best I can. Most of them get hit. Some of them overperform. Some of them won't get hit. Some of them will change. Some of them will change up. Some of them will change down. But guys, you can't hang on that and go, that's my coin. I'm going to go gamble into that one. Let me sell off these other things. I'm putting it all in ThetaFuel. And you know what? You missed Digibyte, and Digibyte overperformed to $1.12 because you were going to go in ThetaFuel. And ThetaFuel is the one Jay was so hot on. By the way, I got all my ThetaFuel a lot cheaper than today's price. I'm not buying ThetaFuel at 14 cents. I was buying ThetaFuel at 2 cents, at 3 cents, at 4 cents. I had a lot of ThetaFuel for free to average my price down to 1 cent. My average price is below a penny on ThetaFuel because I got paid 5.5 million of them when they gave them away for free. I think it was 5.5, 6.5 million. I can't remember. It was a bunch.
It was a lot.
Fantastic. Crypto's awesome. Okay, you guys got me on a rant there. Sorry about that. Hope you learned something. You typically do. Let's see here. How do we know our coins are safe? We did that. I have my coins at Caleb & Brown to be ready for the liquidation swap. Is this not advisable, even if it's for the short term? You know, that's up to each individual. You do eventually have to trust Caleb & Brown and put your coins there to be ready to sell. I have not moved anything over there yet. The liquidity swap, if we get it, see again, you're looking at it as it's definite, so I got my coins there. I don't have any coins there for the liquidity swap. Liquidity swaps don't happen in one day. Liquidity swaps, almost every single one of them has been between a 18 and a 24-day swap. If you look at your Bitcoin dominance chart and we break that line, it's not going to break the line and go all the way to the bottom in one day. It's probably going to take about 3 weeks to get down to the next line of support. Maybe 2.5 weeks, maybe 3.5 weeks. So you will have time, and the market will signal. You'll see this happening and you'll go, oh my gosh, because it's all right in front of you. And you can then begin to move your coins for liquidity swap. Let me give you a tip. The coins I have that are going to be the largest positions, I don't want to say the number, the largest positions, those will be the ones that go first, not the smallest positions. I want to capitalize. In other words, if you had a position that was worth 100,000 during liquidity swap and you had a position worth 15 million or 25 million or 50 million, which one are you selling first? The $100,000 one? So make sure you have, when you do move your coins and you do this, make sure you have a plan in place with your broker. I've discussed my plan for selling if we get the liquidity swap with Jeff over the course of about 10 hours worth of phone call. And I have a plan in place. And we already have everything, it's all in place. You guys have got to do that for yourselves. Oh, let's see here. Do you happen to know if the minimum stake for TFUEL, we already covered that. George just found out it was down to 1,000.
Yep.
If you stake your TFUEL with GPool once they offer the new service, can you still run edge nodes on your personal computer and let GPool run the elite edge node and direct all funds to one wallet? That's on you, George.
Yeah, you can have multiple wallets on the Theta network. So I wouldn't necessarily put it all in one wallet, depending on how many coins you have. So it depends on how many coins you have. But yes, you can run an edge node on your computer at home and earn extra TFUEL. So I would recommend doing that, even if you're running something on GPool.
Tracy's been here a long time. She says, Theta Fuel just hit the price I bought Theta for. Serendipitous. By the way, my wife really enjoyed the one-on-one with you this week. Really, really enjoyed it. She was all smiles telling me about it. She's very proud of the progress you've made the last couple of years and the stuff she's helped you with. I just called in via phone, couldn't get unmuted. Okay, I'm going to try to unmute you again, Mike. We'll see if we can get you on here. Then we'll come back to you guys' questions. All right, I got you unmuted, Mike. Are you with me?
Yes, I sure am. Boy, talk about being frustrated trying to unmute the GoToWebinar. I tried everything.
It's okay, buddy. We got you. So listen, I wanted to bring Mike on for a minute because I had a private conversation with him in the last week, and Mike heads up as the admin who's very, very active in the Telegram groups. I think he's kind of brought a bad job on himself, but he's certainly been a big help to us in that I want him to uphold in the Telegram group the 4 rules that we have. No politics, no religion. If you want to talk about that garbage, you can go to any Twitter feed, any WhatsApp. You can go anywhere else you want to go and talk about that. That's not what our Telegram channel is for. So go pick a different one. No bringing in confusing information from other teachers. If you want another teacher, go get another teacher. Don't bring their information into our Telegram group. So we've got a few rules. No bashing one another, no arguing, fussing, fighting, cussing, all that garbage. So Mike upholds that in the Telegram group, and he shared with me, and I'm here to share with you guys, and I wanted Mike to be here to back me up on this, that there's a lot of people that have dissolved their corporations they set up with John Jay. I think most of them's frustration is the fact that they go in, they try to get a bank account, they go in, they try to do something with their LLC, and they can't do it. They can't get John on the phone to answer their questions. They can't get John on a live stream to say, what do I do? I've paid this money for this product and I can't use it. And so they've been a little frustrated, and I think that what the conversation came about between Mike and I was because he just basically took the one course I did one course called a trust course, and I kind of named it Live Your Life in and Out of a Trust. I've been doing it for 10 years. I taught everything you could teach for 4 or 5 hours on that. I took questions as well. And in the course, I provide you with a trust. So for less than the cost of setting up a trust with a lawyer, You get a trust and a complete course on how to do it. So Mike reaches out to me and says, man, I'm getting so many messages of so many people frustrated with this. And, what should I do? And I said, well, why are they not using the trust? And he goes, I don't know. And I said, are you using the trust, Mike? He says, yeah. He goes, I just set up a bunch of new trusts. So tell these guys, Mike, this week, in the past week, without calling me and asking me all kinds of questions, without like needing my help with anything, what did you do for yourself this past week, Mike? Tell these guys.
Well, to begin with, it had been so long since I'd actually listened to your video, so I went back through and listened. It was approximately 3 hours, but it was very entertaining again, as all of your videos are, Jay. So after doing that, I went ahead and pulled out the documents, and frankly, within an hour, I had 2 trusts completely different, all set up, and ready to go, to which I took to the UPS store and ended up having my wife and I go there, and they witnessed the signatures. They went ahead and notarized the docs. From there, and this was so simple, it was idiot proof, following your lead on this, because these documents have in red the areas that you need to change for yourself. That's what made it so simple and quick for me to process this. And then after that, the next day, I started going to banks. Well, since then, I have, so I've got two separate trusts now set up at 5 different banking institutions. And just to give you guys a little tip, I know Jay has told you, the bankers tend to try to ask you a lot of questions. Well, I nipped that in the bud to begin with, and this is how I did it. I told them, look, I'm in remission, and I'm trying to set up all my affairs for my family so they don't have to go through any probate issues. And I tell you what, they bent over backwards trying to help me, and it was so simple, and I mean, that's a tip for you guys, no one can tell whether you've got cancer and in remission, but it's a little simple white lie, and they'll bend over backwards. I tell you, I had a regional manager yesterday of one of the federal credit unions, that just, oh my God, he couldn't do anything more to help me, and I have the same situation at another federal credit union. So I've got multiple federal credit unions and multiple bank accounts.
All right.
Simple,
Now,
simple.
Here's a question for you, Mike, right there. Now, with an LLC, you've got to place your institution. It's kind of like when you walk in a courtroom and you walk past that bench, the judge almost always asks the person walking past the bench a question or two as they enter the kingdom. And then the judge says, do you understand? And when that person says, yes, I understand, they are basically saying, I stand under your authority, Mr. Judge. You've walked past the bench. You now stand under the authority of the kingdom. You guys are going to need to research this if it's the first time you've heard it. Same thing. When you set up an LLC, you've got to go place your entity you're placing it under the authority of the state. On any of these trusts that you set up, Mike, and I'm assuming you've done some before recently as well, maybe, but on any of these, did you have to register them with any state? Did you have to place them under the authority of any state institution?
No, I sure didn't, Jay. And frankly, using JJS's, I went ahead and set up some LLCs, and yes, those, and almost within a week, I ended up having letters coming into my UPS mailbox, from that process. So, with a trust, I didn't have to do that at all. I mean, this is just totally, it's a document, it's a living document that you can continually change even after I've gone here. I can come back and change the beneficiaries and the hymns that Jay has put in there at will, anytime. It's just so simple, guys.
Yeah, it's a beautiful process. Now, guys, I have a John J. Singleton trust. I use it all the time. I have bank accounts with it at multiple banks. I'm not sitting here saying that you should or should not do that. Okay. Obviously, a lot of people have done that. What I will tell you though is for every one LLC I have 7 or 8 trusts. And in the class, I teach you how to use this trust for far more than just a bank account, far more than just a bank account. The other thing is that when you have assets stored away in a trust, you can eliminate having to go through probate if something were to happen to you. If, for example, your white lie turned out to be the truth. And so just keep all those things in mind. I'm gonna give Mike the last word with you guys, just to say to you that this process is pretty simple. And here's what I think is, here's the part that I'm kind of amazed at. With the course on the trust, I have very, very, very seldom had anyone send me a question and say, after taking that course, I didn't know what to do. I can't set the trust up. I couldn't get a bank account. Now, since I did the trust, since the day that I did the trust course, the banking laws have changed. There are some banks now that will not give you an account unless you turn over the entire copy of your trust. I covered that in the trust course. I covered what you can do to combat that, okay? There are also some bank accounts out there or banking institutions that will let you set up the trust with nothing more than your form from the IRS with your EIN number. So that's up to you to pick and go to the right bank, and how much time do you want to spend on this? That's up to you. I've had people go, well, I went to one bank and they wouldn't let me do it. Well, did you go to 5? I don't have time to go to 5. Well, you're trying to be successful and you don't have time to go to 5. That's like people that send me messages. I get messages like this all the time. They go, hey, Jay, these 6 o'clock in the morning live streams are killing us. And I can't help but to laugh out loud. Guys, can I tell you something? The price of success is paid up front. Always. You're going to have to work your little butt to the bone for the price of success. I get up at 4 o'clock every single morning, and there's people complaining that I hold a live stream at 6 and I've already got 2 hours worth of work done. And guys, I don't know anybody here that has any wallets that match mine. The price of success is paid up front. I don't know too many people in the world as an individual that their wallets match mine in crypto. And yet every morning at 4 o'clock, I can't wait to get started. So when people send me messages and they go, oh man, can you do a live stream at a different time? 6 o'clock's a little early. I almost fall out of my chair laughing. Mike, you got the last word. Tell these guys, did you need to reach out to me for any questions, or was everything pretty self-explanatory and you were able to go get your stuff set up? And have you done this before now? I know you just recently did this to add a few trust accounts, but had you done this when I did the class a year ago?
No, I did not. You know, like you said, a lot of people procrastinate. Well, I procrastinated, and I was kind of leaning more toward the LLC since I've been operating multiple real estate corporations that are LLC. So I just, I felt, well, I'm comfortable with that. But, once I got the trust, it's idiot proof. I'm telling you, I did not have to call Jay. I didn't have to even question anything, Now, Jay did mention there that some banking institutions are now asking for more information. And out of the 5 banks that I went to, there were only 2 that required the other full, like the 10-page document in addition. But other than that, the others, it was no problem at all. So, I mean, it's simple. In my opinion, it's idiot proof. If I can do it, I'm 68 years old, guys. If I can do it, you can do it.
What does George have on
and
the board?
One more thing, Jay. Can you also let everyone know that the countries that you know of that have people have successfully set up the trust in, just so everyone knows?
Yeah, so and all I'm doing is regurgitating feedback that I've gotten. I've had people tell me they could not set it up in Canada I've had people tell me they have theirs set up in Canada and they love it. I recently, for the first time, maybe a month ago, had someone who reached out to me, and I posted it in the Patreon, that they were able to set up 2 of my trusts, no problem, with no problem at all, over in Australia. So those are the 2 I know of. Everything else I don't know of. And I've only ever promoted the trust course or that trust to be for people living in the United States. Now, if your country has a trust process, I can only imagine it all works very similar, maybe with a few caveat changes. But I'm not promoting the product to be perfect for every country, but I am promoting it to work in the United States. And for those that have done it, I've really never had anybody come back to me and say, I bought this course from you and I got this trust and I can't use it. Has not happened one time. Not happened one time. Mike, thank you so much, buddy, for coming on. I appreciate you bringing that to my awareness this past week, and I appreciate you being willing to share with folks.
You're welcome, Jay. And it was frankly an easy process for me to also take my docs, combine them together, and send them to Caleb and Brown. And within 24 hours, I had 2 accounts opened and ready.
That's a beautiful thing. We'll talk soon, buddy. Thanks for all you do.
You bet.
All right, guys. So someone else is saying, well, you know, what does Caleb and Brown do? Have you noticed we did a live stream this week with Caleb and Brown? It's on YouTube, it's in the Patreon, it's everywhere. What does Caleb and Brown do? Caleb and Brown allows you to buy and sell crypto through their brokerage house, which is a boutique broker. And you may think today you don't need them until the bull market really kicks in and you can't liquidate your crypto on Coinbase. You can't liquidate it on Exodus. You can't liquidate it on Binance. You're locked out from everywhere. Because let me tell you something, when I got contracted with Morgan Stanley, they introduced me to a firm in the Cayman Islands, and I later got contracted with this firm. When I got contracted there, part of the actual contract stated, a whole paragraph that I had to sign off on, said, if you have a customer you're working with and you're working with them to make a big transaction on a really busy day in crypto, I'm giving you the paraphrase, we're going to close the front door and only the back door will be open for our largest clients. We're sorry you won't be able to process your order. And I had to sign off that that was okay. Do you not think that's happening at every single exchange when you go there and it says, United States citizens can't exchange Cardano at this time. We're looking into it. We'll get back to you in a week or 2. Guys, you're going to need Caleb and Brown. Those of you that think that the stove's not hot and you got to go touch it yourself, God bless you. Have fun with that. I know we're supposed to keep our own coins. Do they just assist you with getting the coins? They're a brokerage, guys. They are a brokerage. Go look at the Patreon. We got 1,400 posts in the last week. We had a full live stream with Caleb and Brown. Go listen to it. Hi, Jay and George. I got my Flamingo at Caleb and Brown. I was not smart enough to create or find the appropriate wallet. It's called Neon. The Neon wallet, N-E-O-N, Neon. There's also, George, what else?
I prefer Neon, the Neon wallet. Let me get that up.
What are the other 3 though? We had 3 more. What were those? Something 2 wallet? I forget what they were. We used them during the swap.
Yeah, the O3 wallet, which I liked
wallet.
and then I didn't like because it took away, it said you could use Ledger and then it took it away. And so that's why I try to keep with one wallet. So I'm familiar with it. And I like the Neon wallet the best.
Man, we got us a live one here today. Robin must have like 97 questions in here. Good for you, Robin, for speaking up and asking your questions. Let's say, Chris is going, Jay did say it. Ryan says, God shows you things. I don't know. Will you re-enter Bitcoin after selling at 63? If yes, where would you re-enter? So I have talked about this as well. I'll just briefly cover it again. I do not plan to put Bitcoin back in my tradable portfolio. Bitcoin currently is in my tradable portfolio, And that can be, there's a distinguishing factor between your tradable portfolio and let's call it a portfolio of store of value. So once I leave Bitcoin this time, the next time I go into Bitcoin, it will be for store of value. Meaning this, is there anybody here who thinks that in the next decade that gold could double its price? Anybody at all? Probably is. With that being the case, if you have your money in crypto and you earn 100-fold return on your money, and you then you go, look, I don't have a place in my life. I don't need a Lambo right now. I don't need a Mercedes 6x6. I don't need a new mansion. I don't need a new employee. I don't need any of those things. I'm good. So I've got all this money. What do I do with it? Well, if you want to store the value of it in something, if you got 100x return on your money and you think gold might double its price one time in the next 10 years, and you say, I don't know that I'll need this money for 5 or 6 or 7 years. So now you're looking for store of value. You could put that money in gold. And if you at least got a 1x return on your money, do you know you just took your 100x return and it became 200x just by storing it in gold? See, guys, understand this. I mean, people don't even think like this. You got $10,000. You got 10 grand, you got paid at your job, you did a job, you got paid in your business, whatever it is, you got 10 grand. You're gonna go put it in gold. If you go up, if gold doubles, you got 20 grand, don't you? But you only made 1 extra money. If you have 10 grand and you go put it in crypto and you make 100 times your money over a bull market, let's just call it over a bull market, maybe over 2 bull markets, I don't care. And then you're up 100 extra money and you go take your money and put it in gold on the same day that you would have put your 10,000 in, and gold doubles. On one scenario, you went up 1x. On the other scenario, you just put a 100x to a 200x. That out earns any kind of inflation bug you've ever seen. Anything you can think of inflation-wise, you just out earned it. And you guys know I'm an advocate to out earn the problem. Whatever the problem is, Jay, gas is too expensive. Who noticed? I didn't notice. Milk's gone up to, I didn't notice. Jay, you realize the lights are on outside your house all the time? I didn't notice. I'm a wealthy person. You know what, guys, let me talk to you for 2 seconds. Go back and look up the word wealthy. The word wealthy comes from the wealth of water. That's why it's called a well. You are wealthy because you've tapped an unlimited source of water. If you look at yourself as wealthy, you do not care what the price of gas is. You do not care if a light was left on in your house. You do not care. I'm not saying that there is a difference between having wisdom and all the rest, but if you're gonna have a wealth mentality, you only look, the only thing you ever look at is opportunity cost. You never look at hard cost. Hard cost is, well, Jay, it costs $77 to be in Jay's room. I mean, that's $1,000 a year. I don't know that I can do that. Okay, so you miss out on the opportunity cost of the fact that you could have been in TFUEL at 3 cents. You could have been in Digibyte at a penny. You could have been in VIDT for 50 times your money. You could have been in Cardano for now 77, 80 times your money. You could have been in Ethereum, but you missed it because it was $77. That's called hard cost. The guy who has a well and is wealthy, has unlimited water, he wants everybody to be able to take a drink. Versus the guy who has $1 million. The guy who has $1 million, that's just it. He's got $1 million. That's not wealthy. So what I'm talking about when I come out on YouTube and I'm saying to people, come over and talk to the group of folks we're working with, we're creating wealth. We are creating one well after another that anybody that you want to bring along can drink from, because guess what? It's an endless supply. It's an endless supply. So understand the difference between having Bitcoin in your tradable portfolio that you go in and out of all the time and your store of value portfolio. I do not plan to put Bitcoin, and do remember this, when you hear me say I do not plan, I have taught for 3 years now, give yourself permission to change your mind. Give yourself permission to go back and do it different. Give yourself permission to have a plan B. Because when I say to you, I don't plan on it, that's based on what I see in the chart today. But what would happen? What would happen if I exited Bitcoin at 63 and all of a sudden Mt. Gox came out, released all the coins, $8 billion hit the market, and all of a sudden Bitcoin was back at 4,000? Bitcoin would all of a sudden become part of my tradable portfolio again, because now the X factor to the upside just increased by a factor of 2 or 3. So understand, when you hear me talking, and let me just tell you guys how silly human beings are. They come to Patreon and they go, I'm going to join up. I saw Jay on YouTube. Okay, great. And Patreon is flashing paragraphs of sentences in front of you that say, understand this, you're signing up for this, you're accountable for it, you can't get your money back, da 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 da. And they join and then never read any of it. That's how silly human beings are. I come out here and I say stuff all the time, and I say, if, and nobody hears the word if. I'm actually stressing it just like that. I go, if we get a liquidity swap, I'm using full-blown voice inflection over the internet to make sure to drive the point home. And then when you guys come back to me, here's what you say. Well, I've got my coins at Caleb and Brown because I'm ready for the liquidity swap. And when we get the liquidity swap next week, here's what I'm planning to do. And I go, wow, you got all that from an if? Really? It's very silly. I've got another word I'm going to refrain from using, but it's very silly. Please put $1 in the cuss jar. You sound like George's son. Sometimes I call George's house and I'll say a cuss word and I don't know I'm on speaker, and he goes, his son will come and go, he owes me some money.
He does.
I try to keep it professional on the air, but I got a little bit of a mouth on me from time to time. You keep saying liquidity swap. What exactly is the liquidity swap? Robin, you must have joined up like 5 minutes ago. Do you have any thoughts on FLM? Yeah, they're all in Patreon. A liquidity swap, I've covered it in Patreon nonstop. Go there and literally watch the video. There's a video there called, you can do a search in Patreon. So in the Patreon, you can do a search, and you're searching for a recording I did a couple weeks ago called Demystifying the Liquidity Swap. You can learn all about it. Can we do one-on-ones with other people on your team? You're booked. My wife does one-on-ones for women and couples. She does crypto one-on-ones, she does spiritual one-on-ones, she does mindset. Just ask anybody here that's had one with her and they'll tell you that she should be charging triple. George will do a one-on-one when it comes to tech. Other than that, I'm not available, guys. I'll tell you something I am considering though. I've got a backlog of about 30 people that want to do a one-on-one, and it's the worst. It's the absolute worst thing I can do with my time. I got to a point where I was charging $1,100 for one-on-ones, and it was the worst thing I could do with my time. So what I am thinking about doing is throwing it out there to where if people want to come to a group one-on-one, when I do a one-on-one, I have a message for the people I'm doing the one-on-one for. George, do you remember I took you through this? It took us about an hour and a half, and I took you through my message, and I gave you a 10-year roadmap. Do you remember that?
Yep, I absolutely do.
That is a basic message I have for every person that does a one-on-one with me. And then there is always a little bit of Q&A. Well, what about this and what about that? So maybe I do a 3-hour 3.5 hour one-on-one with 10 people, 15 people. And so I get my message to you and build your 10-year roadmap, which works for every person. All you have to do is plug in your numbers. And then at the end of that, I do a Q&A for an hour or so with those 10 or 15 people. I am considering that. I have not 100% decided I'm going to do it. I might do it as a test and see if I like it. Again, the one-on-one process, no matter what I'm charging, is the worst place I can spend my time. I'm currently doing 2 projects for 2 big firms, and they're several $100 million a piece. So understand, I don't get too motivated to spend 2 or 3 hours on the phone with somebody for $1,000 or $1,100 or $500 or $399. And on top of that, every week I'm struggling over the weekend to get my voice back. So nothing you can do in your life for money is worth your health. Nothing. So my apologies if you're wanting a one-on-one and we don't have it available for you. What is your target for OMG? It's in our Patreon. This is a live stream for anybody that wants to come, and I'm not giving out targets to people that came here for free. I don't know if you're here for free. If you're in our Patreon group, all of the things you're asking about are there. It kind of leads me to believe that maybe you're not. Any suggestion on which banks to focus? No, there's hundreds of banks, guys. Hundreds and hundreds of banks in every area. So you're just gonna have to figure that out. I would stay away from Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo will set up any account you ever want to set up with them. And in addition to that, they're like top of the list for a bank bail-in if that happens. If we get to that point in the United States, and by the way, do you think there might be some bank bail-ins if we get to March 15th and the government comes out and makes a really good quality decision for all the banks and says, we're going to extend the moratoriums for a whole nother year? And the banks are having to go a whole nother year on mortgages that they don't receive a payment on. Do you think there might be some bail-ins? Maybe. You guys should be thinking about that. Do you have to get an EIN? You do on a trust, you do on an LLC if you want to have a bank account. You can get an LLC and you can get a trust. I don't like too many entities registered with the state. I like the fact that the trust is a private document in my desk drawer. And I teach this in my trust class that if you're going to have a piece of property, let's call it a Porsche 911 Turbo. Let's call it a, I don't know, whatever your dream is, whatever your dream car is, call it that. And you want to hold that in trust and you want to have the privacy of a trust, you don't need an EIN number for that. You might need an EIN number for that way down the road when you go to sell it, but you can always get that VIN. Or here's another tip for you. Again, I teach you this in the trust class. You can sell your whole trust. You can sell a trust. Yeah, you can sell a trust. You could sell your LLC. You can sell a trust. Guess what? If you live in the state of New York and you had a trust and you're holding a Mercedes S-Class S63, $150,000 car, let's call it, and you want to sell it, and the guy down the street from you has been oohing and ahhing over it forever, and you've already got it registered with the state, you've got a plate on it for New York, it's all set in stone, and you know this guy down the road from you, he's a neighbor or you've seen him or whatever, he comes along and says, man, if you ever want to sell that thing, I'm interested. And you go, it's funny you ask, I want to sell it now. And you can sell your trust to him. You know what he has to do? Nothing. He pays you for the car. He pays you for the trust. You go in, you change your paperwork, you take you off as the trustee, you put him on as the trustee, you do a paper slip on your beneficiaries. You might have had your wife or your kids or somebody else on the beneficiary. You change that to him and his wife and his kids. And you say, here's your paperwork, here's your title, it's already in the name of the trust, the tag's already on it, you're on your way. And all he has to do is take that paperwork with him to the DMV at the end of the year when it's time to get another tag, and he shows them, I'm the trustee. I'm here to renew the tags for this car being held in trust. All of this is on my trust class. Live your life in and out of a trust. Let's see here. Timothy says, they also ask the dummy to rise in court too. Don't do that either. Yes, they do. All rise for the honorable. I tried 3 times to get my LP through a trust of yours with JJ in Canada. Again, he didn't get back to me either and help me finish it because there were problems with the info John Jay gave to put in the blanks. Okay. Not bashing John Jay, just saying it's still not done. And so I'm going to do it another way. Yeah, now you guys may remember my recommendation to people that were in Canada was to buddy up with somebody in the United States, which, by the way, Bud Fox did, and he has everything you want to have in the United States. He has it all. I'm just going to say that he has it all. I'm going to leave a little bit of his private information to be private. He has it all. Is TD Bank okay with a trust? I have 2 there. What's the difference between Jay's trust course and John J. Singleton's trust LLC? Similar, or is it advisable to do both? That is up to you. Again, I'm not getting into my stuff versus John Jay's stuff. That's kind of like if I was the owner of the Bitcoin project, I wouldn't want to be giving price predictions of Bitcoin. Okay. I have John Jay's trust. I use it. I've had no problems with it. 0 problem with it. I have 10 trusts, and they're even easier, and they're not registered with the state. I like it better, obviously. Obviously, I like it better. I don't like knowing that every year I get a letter from the state saying, you got to pay this fee and renew this and tell us who all's in your private member association again. We need to know, is it all the same people? I don't like that. So that's a very small portion of what I use for tools. And you can see a very big part of what I use for tools is trust. Why? It's private. It's currently private. Look at the new law that they came out with during the last defense bill that says if you have an LLC, you could go to jail for 10 years if you don't tell the government who is the private member association, who are all the private parties. Did you notice they said nothing in there about a trust? Nothing. I'm not saying that tomorrow's law, they won't say something about a trust, but I'm just telling you for now, it's not in there. I like that. I like extra privacy. How do I get back to the trust recording? I cannot find it. George, would you mind putting the trust class up? I guess you already have. Yep, it's right there on our website, guys, thebitcoinacademy.net.
Yeah, it's under courses, right there.
How much is it? 487. Oh my,
47.
You guys can't, you know that I'm looking into getting an islet trust in Texas, and it's going to cost me $5,000 because I need the right person to structure it the right way. $5,000. And I can guarantee you when they get done with it, I probably won't be able to operate in and out of it on my own. I'll probably have to pay them by the hour to help me when I need to do something. The trust that I have in this class, $500, you get the trust, you get everything all there together. What a bargain. And as you just heard from Mike, it was the simplest thing he's done in a long time. No, Mike's not going to share the banks and the credit unions he used successfully because Mike, and just like everybody else here, you shouldn't be announcing to the world. You know what I know about Mike? Mike's got one hell of a big portfolio. I mean, a big portfolio. Mike doesn't need to come on here and announce, I used this federal credit union and tell you that he might happen to be living in Florida. You don't need to know where Mike lives. He's not going to tell you. You guys are going to have to, everybody wants to be hand spoon fed like they're sitting in a high chair. get out in your car and go do some work. You got a bank on every single corner. You got credit unions everywhere. And guess what? Because of this crazy nonsense about COVID, you could actually call on the phone and probably get more done over the phone. I got an entire trust account set up over the phone, and all I had to do was go through the drive-through to fund the account. I did one for me and one for my wife in the last 30 days. And all I had to do, I never had to even go in the bank. Everything was signed, done, everything over the internet. You guys should be using that to your advantage, using the phone to your advantage.
Yeah, and one other thing, Jay, I just want to let people know, when you buy Jay's trust class, these docs are yours and not to be shared. So just know that, you know, this is a class like everything else. It's for you, not for everyone.
Yeah, there's already been some folks that took my trust that they paid for, and then they went and started groups. I'm not going to say where or what. And then they're taking that trust and they're handing it out to people for free. How stupid is that? Not only that, but does not anybody have any character or any morals anymore? Seriously? Someone says, is your trust irrevocable? Yes, it is. Most people don't even understand the difference between irrevocable and a revocable trust. Most people don't understand. I'm sorry, my trust is revocable. It's not irrevocable. It is revocable. And the only difference is an irrevocable trust has a grantor. And when the grantor puts the assets into the trust, the grantor gives up all control of the assets. So let's just say you have a grandfather, they're the grantor, they're setting up a trust for the grandson, and they go to put $1 million in the trust. Once that trust is funded, the grantor, the grandfather, has no control ever again over that asset. It's only open and available to the beneficiary to tell the trustee, this is what I want done. That's the only difference. People go, oh my God, I don't want my stuff to be locked up forever. You don't even understand. And people go, well, how would I learn? YouTube, 1,001 videos about trusts on YouTube. We recently set up a trust with a checking account with no problems. Mike is completely right. You can do this. Jay is a great teacher. Thank you, Tom and Laurie. We also got a trust account set up with Caleb and Brown. There you go. I have 10 at Caleb and Brown. Caleb and Brown has never one time said to me, hey, you can't have another entity. They will service you with whatever it is you need. We've had times where we thought we were going to sell an asset and we all moved it to Caleb and Brown, and Caleb and Brown had to do hours and hours of work for hundreds of people to move all their assets into Caleb and Brown's protection to sell it. And then we decided not to sell it and everybody moved it back. Caleb and Brown never said a stinking word, and they have to manually do most of that and verify it, and how many hundreds of emails that go into that. Can't say enough good things about them. So to clarify, you hold crypto in your personal wallet and then send it to Caleb and Brown when you need to sell. Yeah, that's exactly it. And when I need to buy crypto back again, I buy it from Caleb and Brown and I have them send it to my personal wallet. If they're holding it, I don't own it. Kaslav says, thank you dearly, God bless. God bless you, brother. Sister, I don't know. Kaslav, is that male, female? I don't know. Beautiful thing about the internet. For Binge Team members that can't use Caleb and Brown due to the state we live in, do you have any recommendations for us? Do we sell early before targets hit to give us more time to sell? Let me give you a different scenario. You guys ever gotten in your car and you're going down the highway and you see that little sign on the side of the road that says 65 miles an hour? You guys ever done that? And you look down and you go, well, I'm going 70, but I'm a little late and I need to get there. Anybody ever done that? It's called bending the rules. Maybe it's called breaking the rules. But I know very few people that don't break that rule. You ever been filling out a tax return and you said to yourself, yeah, well, maybe I, probably got this write-off. Maybe I don't have this write-off. But I'm gonna see what I can get away with. And you bent the rule, you broke the rule. And I'm just giving you some examples. There's all kinds of places you can break the rules. If you don't think people break the rules, just go watch a basketball game. Go watch a football game. That's what penalties are all about. Somebody broke the rules. So people break rules, people bend rules. So guys, if you live in New York, find somebody that doesn't live in New York. I have a family member that lives right in the heart of New York City. And you know what they did? They used my address in the state I happen to have a residence. And they set up an account at Caleb & Brown using my address. Well, what about their ID? What, you can't move? If you were going to go set up an account with Caleb & Brown, Caleb & Brown's going to say to you, hey, we can't do this till you get a new ID? No, you could have lived in New York your whole life and you just moved to Atlanta, Georgia. That's perfectly acceptable. They're not going to give you a hard time. Look at what the rules are and figure out a way around it. When you're in your car and you see that speed limit sign, you figure out a way around that. Most people know you can go 6, 7, 8 miles an hour over and they're not going to mess with you. So a lot of people just basically do that. Guys, you gotta engage here. Get down on the 50-yard line and get in the game. The reason I'm needing to go back and listen to the recording is I'm not sure how to open a trust bank account at the bank to deposit funds and stay under the radar. Yeah, I went through the whole bit. It's not hard. What is the liquidity swap? There's a video in the Patreon about it. This person says, I love Jesus, but I cuss a little. How do I get in touch with your wife? On our website, you can book a one-on-one with her there. She's a little overbooked right now, by the way. Thank you for the recent fireside chat, Jay. Talk about life-changing thinking. I'm so excited to bless those around me. What a powerful tool we've been given. Thank you again. You're welcome, Tom. Miss Neo, so Moni Z is talking about my wife, Miss Neo, is amazing. One conversation and she was brilliant. Already changed my mindset. She was spot on and so compassionate and non-judgmental. I feel so blessed that I got to spend time with her. How do you think I feel? And I agree with everything you just said. I try to spend every minute I can with her. 3.510 on 1 sounds great. Meaning 3.5 hours, 10 on a 1 discussion, count me in. Yeah, so I'll maybe put that together with George and see if maybe the first 10 people want to do that. Let's see here. After a one-on-one with your wife, you feel like you won the lottery, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. That's from Tracy. Yeah,
It's
man.
true.
I get as many of them as I can. I got one today, as a matter of fact, now that I think about it. Kraken now has banking services. Cool. I don't use Kraken. I am laughing, Jay. There is only one bank where I live, and they turned my trust down. That's why I'm leaving here to go join my bride. Yep, you're in Canada. I got it. And I think she's in the States, if I'm not mistaken. I've actually been helping people where John Jay is lacking. People just need a little guidance. Yeah, I mean, again, he set up my LLC, and I've never had a problem with it anywhere. I've got multiple bank accounts. I've used it in business. I've used it with PayPal. I've used it with Stripe. So wherever I've needed to use it, I used it. And I don't think he set mine up different than anybody else. It's just a private member association LLC. Okay, might not want to read out loud. And the funds never touch. Okay. I think that this question I'm being asked here is by, I don't know if this person pronounces this Moni or Mani. I'm not sure. But if I'm butchering it, please accept my apology. I don't mean to. I'm going to call you Money Z because I like that better. I would say to you that with crypto, if you're moving your money with the blockchain, you have a lot of options around this question. I mean, a lot of options, because nobody can monitor that crypto going over a country line where you might then distribute the money. So you have a lot of options there. Robin says, yes, I'm in the Patreon. My apologies. Learning as quickly as possible. It's okay. It's okay. Lost job due to COVID. Took all savings and entered crypto, 300K. Doing my best to balance portfolio while continuing education. I will continue watching your videos. So grateful. Well, we're grateful to have you, Robin. And there really is, when we're in a live stream like this and we're already, 3 hours and 8 minutes in, there are some questions I'm going to point you back to a video, especially if I've just recently done it. This is one of the best calls I've ever been on. Much appreciated. You're welcome, Ryan. I have to step away for a moment, so hoping this question hasn't been covered. Also hoping the question doesn't sound contradictory. When you sell all cryptos and have a percentage that you plan to never put back into crypto, will an exception be to use crypto as a store of value? Yes, and that is kind of what I was talking about earlier. I am not a believer in saving something they print every day. So my wife and I have been waiting 3 years to take on a couple of very large projects, and our time is coming here probably by the end of March, 1st of April, where we will pull that money out of crypto forever, and we are going to immediately put it into those projects. So again, it won't be sitting around. I'm not going to be saving it in a bank account. I'm not going to just be feeling good because I have that much money in a bank. I don't want that much money in a bank ever. George will tell you, I'm constantly telling him, George, I don't want any of this money. I don't want this money coming to my bank account. I do not want the money. I want crypto. George, back me up.
Absolutely, and I am in agreement, 100%.
We talked about it yesterday, in fact.
Yep,
so
for a while.
Absolutely. So anyway, guys, it's not contradictory. I would just say to you that I do feel like that Bitcoin and even Ethereum, I'm trying to think if there's another. For right now, I would say Bitcoin and Ethereum are a wonderful store of value. Like if you've made enough X factors on your money that you'd be willing to put it in a bank account, savings account, then be willing to put it in your own wallet in a store of value like Bitcoin and Ethereum. Just don't be silly about it. Wait for a good pullback. No matter where Bitcoin stops going up, it will pull back. When it pulls back, then you start your store of value trade. You don't just put it right into Bitcoin because you're not going to put it in a bank account. Put it in a stable coin first. Are you still confident on FLM? I'm as confident on FLM as I am any other crypto there is. It's all speculation, folks. Does FLM make any money? Is there anybody paying a salary? How about XLM? The only couple cryptos I know making money is PPT, Wax token, and there might be another one or two out there. They actually have a business and they make money. Wax token, Wax, before they moved to the blockchain, they were making $1 billion a day selling avatar clothing to the millennials. Every millennial I know, they got to get their video game time in every day. I can't tell you how many 30-year-olds I know who sit around the weekends playing video games. I'm going, are you kidding me? Seriously? Don't understand it. You got the whole world at your disposal. You can go create and make unbelievable everything, and you're going to take and add all those hours up at the end of the year. Call it judgmental if you want to. It's just not the time I came from. The time I came from is get your butt down on the 50-yard line and go do something with your life and quit cheering for everybody else's life. Go do something with your life. You also need to appoint 2 non-family members for trustees on irrevocable trusts. Not all of them. Not all of them. Thank you for all you do, Jay, you and George. It's a male name, Kaslav, okay? And I hope I'm saying it correctly. If I'm not, I don't mean to be saying it wrong. Origin is Serbia, but living in the Netherlands. Well, welcome from the Netherlands, my friend. What are your thoughts on Ripple? Well, it's funny you should ask my thoughts on Ripple. They haven't changed much. I did tell you guys that from the very beginning that these guys are working together with Ripple. I told you that I spoke with some of my contacts, and they told me when this is all over, there will be no case. It'll all be dismissed. And in the meantime, the SEC would have accumulated a lot of Ripple from the retail customers that sold their Ripple because there's now a case against them. I first told you guys that they were targeting around 12 cents. It went down to 17. I've now told you that you want to probably be looking for any drops to 17, 20 cents for a buy-in, if we can get that. Notice how I said if. I didn't say when we get it. Nobody knows, guys. I don't know. Nobody else knows. People pretending that they know, run, Forrest, run. Just run. So now, as of yesterday, the Ripple team produced a 4-page letter of dismissal for the case. And let me tell you something. They have a really, really, really good 4-page letter that they put out there for dismissal of the entire case, and they probably will get it. I would not be surprised if they get it. And part of what's the strongest point in that letter is the fact that a couple of years ago, they were asked, the SEC was asked, is Ripple a security? Can we keep taking Ripple? Can we keep doing what we're doing? And the SEC came back and said, well, we don't really know. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing. And so there's a couple things coming forward like that that are very, very enlightening. But again, it all goes back into the narrative that I told you guys from the start. And that is, you know, this is no different than any other game that's being played on Wall Street, guys. Do you think that the whole GameStop thing, do you think all that was what you think it was? I mean, 38% of the entire float of that stock was being shorted, 38% more than the total float. That's a game. That's a losing game. That's a crooked game. How many more things shall I say about that game? Who doesn't appreciate the smart things doesn't deserve the big things, we say in the Netherlands. Nice. Looks like that's a different Netherlands person. So there's a couple folks here from the Netherlands. Welcome, guys, from the Netherlands. Count me in as one of the 10 on the possible one-on-one. Got it, Remo? You know, I hadn't heard from you lately, Remo. I was hoping you were still around. I don't usually take a tally of who's around and who's not around, but it's good to see your name, my friend. I was just thinking about you 2 days ago, and I thought I hadn't seen a single comment from Remo in forever, and I was just hoping you were still around. So it's good to see you. Who doesn't appreciate the little things? Doesn't we already did that one? Okay, there is so much value you have put together here. It is insane. And you also have super high patience level. I'm currently taking your intro to trading course. So this question might be premature because you probably cover it there. But based on your total amount you have invested, that should basically determine how many coins you are in. Am I correct in that thinking? Also, when some of your coins are approaching target and you want to pivot, can you explain the rationale behind where to go? First of all, before I finish your question, let's talk about the pivot. There's a lot of people that are all jazzed up about the pivot, but let me explain something to you. Just like there's proper allocation, there's a time to pivot and a time to not pivot. Let me give you an example. Let's say we do get a liquidity swap and you pivoted into 3 or 4 things and they went way up and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this. This is amazing. Where can I pivot now? That's not the time to pivot. That's the time to get the heck out. I don't care if you go in stable coin. I don't care if you go in dollars. I don't care where you go. Get out of your positions at 50x. Get out of your positions at 37x. Get out of your positions at 91x. Don't be looking for another pivot. The only reason that I pivot into something else is because I might be in a trade. For example, one of the last pivots I made was coming out of, what was that last week that we got out of from a long time ago? Oh, Voyager token. Voyager token, I already gave you guys the upside targets. But when you're up 10x, 5x, 7x on a coin that you've been in for 3 years and it's no longer anything close to what's going on in crypto, take your gift. And for me, I don't need any cash. We're still in a bull market. I'm going to go pivot into something else. Understand when you're supposed to pivot and when you're not supposed to pivot. I'll talk about it a lot. I think I understand compounding your X factor, just wasn't sure if it makes sense to jump into a coin that is well on its way to target and will get there in a shorter time frame so that you can then pivot again or find a coin that is super low price, knowing that it's a long time before it hits target. I hope that makes sense. So I think I just covered that for you, Richard. That helps you a little bit with the pivot. Don't read out loud. Okay, let me read this one. Hang on a sec. Yeah, I think what's going to happen before that happens, Heather, is I'm probably going to stop. I'm going to probably close down association. You know what I mean? Like from a business side. But yeah, I hear what you're saying 100%. When digital CBDCs are offered in the banks, will we be able to purchase more cryptos with CBDCs versus fiat to crypto? I have no clue. I have no clue. Again, I'm looking around my desk, no crystal ball. I wish I had a crystal ball. Are big tech becoming the new banks when they eliminate debt? Well, big tech is definitely becoming your government, and they have for a long, long time. That's how come every sitting president brings all of them in the minute they come in, because they want the big tech to tell them exactly how to run the administration. Although it looks to the news and to you and me like it's the president telling them what's going to happen. It's all an illusion, guys. Is NEO still not divisible? George, that's a question for you.
Yeah, you still can only send 1 NEO at a time. You could buy, if you go to Binance or something, you might get, 1.xxx, but you can't move the .xxx. You gotta get rid of it or turn it into, if it's Binance, like a BNB. But yeah, you can only send 1 NEO at a time. And that's why that's one of the reasons why they have gas, because you spend gas to send NEO.
So a few more people saying, count me in on the one-on-one. So I'll probably get that set up and we'll try that. We'll give that a try. That might be more acceptable. Let's see. Okay. What's going on with Litecoin? It runs on a blockchain every day. What else would you like to know? My next upside target is about to be updated this week, this coming week. I do think the target goes up from what I currently told you guys. So I will be updating my Litecoin target. If you look at Litecoin's chart and you look at the coverage I've done on Litecoin in the last couple of months, it's right on track. It's just doing the same thing everything else has done. When you go from $23 to $280, a 10x since last March, you did not outperform Bitcoin. like, for example, Ethereum did. But are you a dead project? Not at all. Nowhere near a dead project. And even Charlie Lee himself, I've told you guys this. I've been on a couple calls with him recently. And look, he bought all of his Litecoin back. Did you see him post that on Twitter? Did he happen to mention on Twitter that he bought it all back? You know when he bought it? He bought it when the IMF bought 1/3 of the float. That's correct. The International Monetary Fund bought 1/3 of the float of Litecoin. Available coins on the market, they bought 1/3 of it at $31. And that's when he bought his back too. Didn't mention that on Twitter, did he? He said himself in a recent interview when someone asked him, they said, well, do you think Litecoin's ready to become a stable coin and just be stable with the dollar and be a good payment processor? And he said, you know, I really think cryptocurrency as a whole is still in its speculative phase, and there's no telling where any of these coins ends up. He said that less than 30 days ago on an interview. And he bought all of his crypto, and he bought all of his Litecoin back. Please contact me in for the one-on-ones. Well, what we'll probably do is I'll have George set something up for that, and I'll talk about it, and then we'll put a post in Patreon, and like the first 10, 12 people that send in a message that they want to be a part of it, we'll kind of go with that. So I'll get George to do that, and we'll try it, guys. We'll do it and see how it goes off. If I like it, we'll maybe do that going forward. I know there are a lot of people upset that they couldn't get that one-on-one. I don't mean for you to be upset. It's just like I say, Patreon and the Bitcoin Academy makes up about 5% of what I do in crypto. 95% of it is outside of the Bitcoin Academy and Patreon. There are, there's a whole, in fact, let me just not say that. Let me just keep that to myself. Okay, last question. We're done. Yes, contact me too. Signing up for the Patreon today. Guys, listen, March, April, and May very possibly could be the most important months for 2021. We're in a bull cycle. It started in November. It's not over. I don't care how high Bitcoin goes. I don't care where it corrects. I don't care about any of that. This bull cycle has got a lot of juice left in it. There's a lot still to come. And I really think that what we're going to see in the charts, March, April, and May, are going to give us that opportunity to take some profits. For some people, you'll take all your profit. For some people, you might take 25%. Some people are going to take cash out. Some people are not. Some people are just going to put it back in. But that's going to be that March, April, May timeframe. I think is going to be the time when that happens, maybe even into June for some of the altcoins. And then the rest of the year is going to absolutely be sensational. We have all, those of us that have been here for 3 years together, we have all been in coins from 2017 that are no longer a cool project. I mean, their coins going up. Let's just take, for example, Civic. Civic is going to go up and have its day, but when I get out of it, I am never looking back at that turd ever again. There are projects that outweigh what Civic put out there in 17, 100 to 1 today. 100 to 1 today. Far better projects. So understand that when we reallocate, we're not just going to sell our cryptos and go right back into everything. I am planning to condense down from about 187, 190 coins. I'm going to condense down to maybe 30 or 40 coins. And I'm going to be talking about the target points of picking those coins back up. And I'm going to be a little bit, how shall I say it? I missed Binance waiting on my target. I missed Chainlink getting back in the second time. I would have been getting back into Binance for the 5th time. I've made a ton of money on Binance. It's more than 7 figures. I made a crap ton of money the first time in Chainlink, but I missed some of those targets getting back in, waiting on my target. I'm going to be a little bit more conservative and be willing to get in a little bit earlier on these pullbacks. and build on that position if it keeps going lower. So I'm going to do it a little bit different because I'm not interested in missing too much. I think the move we get to the end of 2021 is a blow off top. I'm not saying it's going to be the end of the bull market because I don't think it is. But I do think it will be a pivoting point where anybody who's been in crypto could sell all their cryptos and look back and go, my. Maybe you could do a one-on-one class, 10-year roadmap charge, add the bitcoinacademy.net for purchase. Yeah, it just doesn't give me an opportunity to also answer questions for those people. If they're asking for a one-on-one, they have questions. They don't just need my 10-year roadmap. They have questions. And so we'll see how it works. We'll see how it works. Guys, 2021 is our year. Make it your year. George, you got the last word.
You guys have a great rest of the week and a great weekend.